Welcome to the Manhwa recap about a weak demon who was destroyed by the heroes, but reincarnated. He decided to take revenge. His masculinity dazzles every girl he meets, promises to kill all the heroes and bring back the demon lord without fail. Enjoy watching. On the day of the Human-Demon Peace Conference, there is a little monster hiding and crying in the Demon Queen's castle, while the Demon Queen swims in her own blood, asking the man, why did they do this and refuse to accept peace? The man asked her if she really thought such a world could exist, a world where demons and humans would hold hands. The Demon Queen, surprised to hear this, furiously unleashes her power, calling on the underground forces to help her win. Then she jumps towards the man, swinging her arm back to attack. But the man just smiles. Suddenly the lady on the back of the Demon Queen appears. She quickly looks around, but it's too late. The lady stabs her and arrogantly asks her what she thinks about it and tells her that it cost them a lot of effort to find the poison. This poison that will affect the two of them. The Demon Queen coughs up blood from the poison, but the lady just tells her to. She can't believe that filthy creatures like her still dare to breathe. The Demon Queen grabs the lady's dress. The angry lady orders her to get her hands off and starts cutting her, screaming that she's a liar and dirty. A small monster, watching everything and crying, the man leaves the woman and tells her that the Demon Queen is immortal, so physical pain has little effect. The man said that in order to seal this thing, you have to torture it with all kinds of torture and drive its soul into a state of despair. The man said they'd have to work hard at it. The lady said the darkness must rot in the darkness. The little monster, shocked to hear this, knows he must save the Demon Queen. The Demon Queen looks up and sees a monster crying in front of her. And with a smile on her face, she calls him Archive and tells him to run away. Then one of the men grabs the queen, and the other smiles, pulling out his penknife. He says that if anything, she's no different from any other woman. Then the man rips her clothes off and screams that she can't do anything because of the poison, and now they can do anything to her. He quickly removes her clothes, exposing her inner body. The man excitedly tells her that her body is modest. And before, it was dangerous to approach just like that, but under the influence of poison, she's nothing to be taken advantage of. He descended on her and told her to get ready, for he would rape her until she was a will-less doll. Archive sees this and understands how the Demon Queen protected him, cared for him and loved him unconditionally. The little monster jumps to the lady to get to her belly, and when he touches the lady's belly, he starts throwing in something that shocks the lady. After he's done casting, he lies on the ground in exhaustion. The lady was furious, and with a wave of her hand, she took his head off. She's screaming at him to get out of her way. The Demon Queen was shocked when she saw the head of her little monster. She screamed in pain and stood up to get to the Archive, but the man raised his sword and cut off her arm, causing her to fall to the ground, bleeding. The man says their blade has finally worked, and now they can begin to seal the queen. Even though she is injured, the Demon Queen is still reaching for the archivist's head, forcing herself to grab it. The man started laughing and said that the queen even feels something for her kin. She was broken by the death of a family member, a demon who took the lives of so many people. It's ridiculous to say that. A man tells her she must curse her own immortality or be sealed in purgatory. Swinging his sword he said, let her suffer in agony with this mutilated body, Demon Lord, forever. The man smiles and laughs heartily, rejoicing in his victory. After all, now they will be calm. The lady looks at the decapitated body of that little monster and says it's trash. The man said it was time for the sealing ritual, and we must begin it immediately. Some time passes, and a girl and a man are sitting in a room waiting for their child. They don't realize that the child inside her is absorbing something and turning into another species. Because of the blood parasite, it's a parasite known to find the nests of various species of birds. At the same time, he throws his eggs from other people's nests, laying his own to incubate. Demons absorb the soul of a human embryo and plant their own in its place by forbidding technology. 6 years later, the boy has grown up and his mother calls him Elixir. The boy raises his head and looks at his mother, but deep down, he feels another life turning into a monster. He asked his mom what's wrong. The guy said his mother got his name wrong. His name is actually Archive. In a previous life, he was beheaded. Shortly before his death, he cast a spell of parasitism on one of the 8 heroes and became that woman's womb fetus. Parasitism was the only thing his magic power was good for. He was reborn as a human to bring back the demon lord. In fact, he became the son of a hated enemy. The child of a woman who humiliated a demon lord. The lord was everything in this world to him. With no father or mother, he didn't even know who he was. He was hatched from an egg too weak, so the demons rejected him, forcing him to live on human scraps. That's when he met her. The guys were torturing him when suddenly someone shouted at them. They turned around, got scared and ran away. The demon lord asked him who he was. It was the first time she had seen such a weak demon. She told him to raise his head, because she wanted to see his face. The girl asked him what his name was. But she got nothing in reply. Then she realized that he couldn't talk, and that's a problem. Then she suggested to him that maybe he would like to go with her. She picked him up, a demon who didn't even have a name and whose life was worthless. Soon she brought him back to her house and put him in the right room. While watching him, she saw him reading and asked him if he liked it. After a little thought, she smiled loudly and said she wanted to call it the archive. Exactly, like a book archive. Perfect for that book lover, yes. And that's where they stayed. Now it's called the archive. The girl was talking to herself, telling him why she took him into the castle. But really, she just wanted to. She said she had no family of her own. She's been alone in this castle since she was born. All the other demons and humans have families, but even though her body looks like a human's, she can't conceive a child. No matter how hard she tries, she still can't start a family. That's probably the fate of a demon lord. His mother asked Elixir why he was standing still. The boy smiled without showing it and said that everything was fine. This woman, Lieselotte, his human mother, and the one who humiliated the demon lord. Archive was filled with anger and prepared that he would definitely kill the 8 heroes and her included, because inside their bodies there are crystals in which are sealed parts of the demon lord. To kill the heroes and bring her back to life, his mission. But on the plus side, with his rebirth, he gained strength. As he was eating a tasty burger, his mother stopped him and told him he needed to eat vegetables. The demon eye is his weapon. And when she used it on her mother, she smiled and said she was wrong. His body is still weak and less effective on heroes. But even so, this female hero is easily influenced by the demonic eye. Because he is her son. The mother looked at the child and asked if it was good. In 6 years of human life, he has learned one thing. Their weakness is family. He has no problem killing this defenseless woman. He thinks a simple order to kill himself would be enough. But Ceruto Alexiel, a hero, a true warrior, and his father. Remembering his words as he told the Lord that she was so vile that he didn't know what kind of man would want to seduce her, and began to abuse her face, telling other women and children to see her dirty, who were being killed and raped by his demons. He told her not to worry, even if she gets pregnant, they'll pull the fetus out by cutting her belly open. And he's ready to eat him right in front of her, just like they did to the rest of the people on Earth. Archive realized that he was still too weak to compete with this guy who had no feelings for his son. He is able to repel his magic with his spirit power alone, but the Archive has prepared a plan to finish off even such a hero. Mother told Elixir that this was their father's way. He knew he would use this woman, the hero's lover, for his plan. And then his revenge would be served. That same night, the child's father shouted that he couldn't love the child. The girl asked him why he couldn't. After all, he always said he wanted a boy. The guy said that the child is not attached to him, does not laugh and almost does not talk. The girl said that the boy should just be more open. At that time, the boy was awake and standing by the door, listening to his parents arguing. The guy kept saying he was trying to be a father, but those eyes. That boy is anything but human. He gets goosebumps just looking at him. The girl got angry and said that he was their child. The guy turned away and began to mutter that the child did not go in him, neither hair color, nor appearance, and his eyes like demons. The girl heard these words and was angry. The guy felt her start to breathe and said he didn't mean it. The girl said how could he think such nonsense. He thinks she sinned with a demon. The girl turned away from him and started crying. The guy realized his guilt and tried to calm Lisa down. The girl leaving the room said that the demon is here, only him. In the hallway she met a little boy. He asked his mother what happened. Lisa hugged him tightly and told him they had to go to their room and apologized, saying it was okay. The boy asked her if he and his father had a fight over it. Lisa said it was nothing like that. Elixir is our child and she is proud of him. The father just needs to get to know him better. The boy used his demon eye and asked what her mother wanted. Lisa, under the influence of the boy's power, said she wanted to live happily ever after with Elixir and Daddy. But his dad is afraid of his son, and it seems there's another woman in his life now. Archie said his mom just wants him to love her, right? Lisa said yes, she wants their daddy to love her. As a wife and as a woman. Archie said he'll give her what she wants. Archie says he will love her, and then she will see him coming towards her, but in her eyes he changes his appearance, and enters her body. A moment later she is already lying on the bed and moaning. The archive looks at her and realizes how disgusting people are. He was able to make Lieselotte see Saruto instead of him. The illusion of the demon eye came in handy. True, its effect is short-lived. The question is how to show Saruto in Lieselotte's eyes. The archive has come up with an idea to turn Saruto into a demon and show Lisa his natural appearance. A moment later, he was sleeping peacefully in bed when Saruto entered his room with a sharp dagger in his hands. Saruto raised his dagger to pierce him. Lisa jumped out from around the corner and blocked the sword attack with her sword. Just in time, she called Saruto a vile demon and asked how dare he hurt her favorite child. Saruto shouted at her that the boy was manipulating her, but she told him to shut up and quickly attacked him. Luckily, Saruto blocked her attack, and insisted that the baby wasn't theirs. Liz screamed at him, called him a filthy demon, and told him to shut up. Lisa told Elixir to run away, which he did. Smiling a few moments later, he was laughing under the full moon. He thought as he looked at the moon, how ugly and weak are those who have the power to destroy demons. Raising his hands to the sky, he told his lord to look at such a sight and laugh too. After all, even though he had no power, he had still successfully carried out the first revenge. He asked the Lord to watch him further. She can rest assured, he will bring vengeance to all the heroes who took her from him. But then Saruto came and saw what was really going on. The boy turned around surprised and said that Saruto had survived after all. He had expected the opposite. Saruto told him not to let the monster underestimate him. Lisa's just out of it. Then he raised his spear and told the demon to tell him what he had done to his son. The archive smiled broadly and said he'd eaten it. And it turned out that the hero's child tasted delicious. These words caused Saruto to scream in anger and point his axe towards the boy. The head of the elixir affectionately called Saruto his father, asking if he was really going to kill him. Saruto was shocked to hear this and stopped just in time before the axe struck Saruto's son. Then he remembered someone asking him if he was sure it was right to go to work and leave his pregnant wife alone. He's making money for his child's future, but in the past he was a great guild warrior. Then why did he choose to work in a corner mine in a forgotten village? Saruto said that he only wanted to provide Lisa with a normal life, and that he was going to be a father, and therefore a strong support. Suddenly blood splattered everywhere, and Saruto was shocked to see a long sword piercing his chest. When he looked back, he saw Lisa, who angrily told him that Elixir was her son. After which Saruto fell. After which Elixir raises his hand and thought they were just getting started. The boy snaps his fingers and Lisa's soul returns to her body. Slowly coming back to reality, she sees Saruto's dead, lying in her own blood. Shocked, she bends over, perplexed as to what she was doing and why Saruto was there, lifeless. The boy told her that Saruto was right, hero Lieselotte Alexiel. She fell under the influence of his demonic eye and killed her husband because she mistook him for a demon. With bloody hands, Lisa cried and tried to remember how it happened. She asked him why he did it. Lisa, covered in blood, covered her face with her hands. The boy said he wasn't their son. He said his name was Archive. The same demon trash that was killed by her. And started laughing out loud. Lisa covered her ears with her hands and began to pour out her tears harder. Archie asked her to say what it was like to not even realize that she had been raped and inseminated. He told her to say, "Hero, savior of the world." Lisa slowly touched the sword and wanted to take it. Archive was hoping she'd take it. And they'd see how burdensome family can be for these heroes. He wondered if his demon eye would work. But before he could use it, Lisa had slit her throat. The Archive was surprised that she took suicidal measures to get rid of everything she had and die with her sins. The Archive came to her and said that the death of her husband and the realization that her son had been eaten had hit her too hard. Lisa was still in herself and touched Archive's face with her bloody hand and told him not to cry, because everything was fine, and called him her boy. She held her hand over the archivist's face and said that her mother was here and would always be there to protect him. Arch realized that these people were the ones who took the demon lord away from him, but there were some good moments when his mother brought him to a place. The boy asked, "What is here?" A frightened boy stood behind Lisa. She told him that this was the grave of her mother's family. But the best part is, her mother was killed by demons. But she was the only one who survived from the forest. If her father hadn't saved her, she might be in that grave too. The boy was surprised and stared back. While Lisa apologized for coming in late, but she had news for her today. When she picked Elixir up in her arms, she let out a tear and was happy to say that she had a family of her own. Battles and revenge are in the past, from now on she will live for her husband and this child, forever. The Archive realized that they, the demons, had made the first move. The image of his mother told him that she would always protect him. And he had nothing to fear. After saying her son's name with all her might, she fell down and didn't move anymore. At that moment, the Archive felt something and tears started to flow from his eyes. He didn't understand what was happening. But then he remembered seeing the Demon Queen asking him if he would become her family. The Archive stood next to his mother's body for a long time, trying to come to his senses. He took out a knife and stabbed Lisa in the chest. Lastly, he said that she would never be more important to him than the Demon Lord. After all, family and attachment to her is the weakest part of a man. Now he finally understood it as well as he could. Taking the crystal from Lisa's chest, he said he planned to use it to the fullest for his revenge, until he brings back the Demon Lord. Looking at the moon and squeezing the crystal, he handed it to the Overlord to bear with it for a while. 14 years later, at the castle's huge doors, someone knocked on the door. The guard asked who it was. The man replies that he is hired as a teacher. The guard tells him he needs to see the document. The guard laughed and opened the door and said that he couldn't believe that the son of a hero was invited to teach at the academy. The guard was very gentle and friendly. He invited him in and called him the esteemed Elixir Alexiel. As the name suggests, an institution that educates children with the skills and talents to become heroes. Students from all corners of the world are gathered here and have outstanding abilities. It is customary to enter this institution, of course, and the children of heroes. But suddenly someone asked him, "He's Mr. Elixir Alexiel, right?" When he turned around, he saw a girl who bowed to him. She welcomed him to the Hero Academy. The girl introduced herself as Ricky Weissman. She said that the headmaster had instructed her to meet him at the gate. She apologized because she had been held up by a student on her way here. Elixir smiled and said it was no big deal, and thanked her for meeting her. Ricky was shy and said with a smiling face that she would take it upon herself to show him around the academy. Elixir smiled back at her, and said that he thanked her in advance for such a kind gesture of welcoming her. Over the past 14 years, he has proven himself to be a qualified teacher. After killing Ceruto and Lisa, the remaining bodies, not without the help of the demonic eye, were hidden by the villagers. And he, their son, was left with an acquaintance, and soon he decided to disappear. Outwardly, everything was going well for him. Then he used the power of his eyes to become a nobleman's foster child, and settled down there in complete prosperity. That's when he had a chance to learn to live in high society. You could say he was having a quiet human day, but still he did not want to surrender to the peace that the humans enjoyed. The position and abilities of the Son of Heroes allowed him to join the guild that hunted the remnants of the Demon Lord's army. It was all about experience, achievement, and getting closer to hero status. He didn't hesitate to kill demons like himself. By siding with the humans he was willing to do anything, because he is ready to return the demon lord at any cost. Then, using his full flame, he killed and burned many demons. However, one of the demons survived the flames and jumped towards him to attack. Fortunately, he used his demonic power in time, causing the demon to stop right in front of him. After realizing the power, he couldn't believe that it was the demon eye he had taken out earlier. The guy took out a sword from his inventory, he clutched it tightly and walked closer to the immobilized demon, then chopped it in half. Recognizing him as the same demon, he asked why the demon's body had fallen to pieces, and he watched as other demons and humans burned alive around him. Through long training and battles, he finally realized one thing: his strength was not enough. He knew that the 8 heroes were capable of destroying fortresses with a single attack, and their attacks were as fast and fierce as lightning, even capable of making stars fall. Realizing how far he still had to go, he decided to change his plan, because he already had his pedigree and accomplishments. So the only thing he needed was to climb the ladder in this world, and he knew it was only a matter of time. When the regular army contacted him, he remembered the old man saying that someone with his skills could even be appointed as the commander of a night order. His father asked him if he wanted to take a high position in the army. He looked at the old man and said he did, but not to be impertinent, but he had a preference of where he wanted to be sent. Mr. told him to just voice it and then they'll see. Maybe he can arrange it. He said he always wanted to be a teacher, but he came to this academy for one purpose. Coming to the academy meant brainwashing the heroes' children and turning them into their palms. He looked into their eyes, making them line up respectfully, thinking of fear, certification, clairvoyance, spells and second sight. He decided to use all his skills with his demonic eyes to seduce these young minds, but suddenly a disciple bumped into him and fell to the floor. At the time, he silently vowed to make the heroes taste the spare while their favorite children were being killed. In the dream the lady agreed, but then he noticed some bright, shining power in her, which surprised him. She reminded him of the man who basically humiliated the demon queen. The girl thanked him for his help and apologized. He watched the lady run away and asked Rick who she was. She said she was the daughter of the great hero, Mr. Fugel Adlay Litburn. A few days later, Elixir was saying that many people have the wrong idea about alchemy. Taking the diary, he asked who had taught alchemy here before him. Something seems to be missing. Holding out the book, he said that people often think it's a form of magic, but he'd say they're wrong. When he saw Adlay Litburn in the audience, he was surprised. She is the daughter of Fugel Litburn, the sacred knight who sealed the demon lord. Given her knowledge, skills, graceful face and exemplary behavior, no wonder that blasphemous knight adores her. But there's one thing that bothers him: the isolation. There's no hint of any friendship. Do gifted people really prefer solitude? But suddenly, the most difficult child in the academy said that alchemy was useless. He said he didn't need a class in potions or poison making. Elixir said that alchemy inherently encompasses more than just potions and poison making. If this guy has this perception, they will change it right now. He used his power to take the paper and shred the table. Everyone was surprised and stared with their mouths open. Elixir said that he only increased the density of the paper, causing it to vibrate under the influence of the electric current. But even that's enough to turn an ordinary leaf into a razor-sharp blade. Understanding the composition of substances and enhancing their quality by acting on them. He used his power to make things fly and told the guys that's what alchemy is. At that moment, he put everything back together, and everything went back to the way it was. He asked if he had managed to get them at least a little interested. The guys began to rejoice and were surprised at what they saw. After all, they began to like this subject more from now on. Elixir looked down at them and thought that these freaks, who are so easily surprised, are going to become heroes? This is ridiculous. Seeing the child of a true hero, at least she would never be surprised. Seeing her smile, she went there with the others. The arrogant guy said he wasn't surprised that the teacher could cut up a table of paper. Elixir said he'd show you differently then. Apparently he has a knack for alchemy. Let him try to turn this water into something else. The boy stood up and said with a smile that he would. He reached over the flask and used his eyes to enchant it, and it turned into the color of fire. He asked the teacher how he felt, but then the water in the flask evaporated. The teacher said he asked to turn the water into something else. The guy said he boiled it. The elixir covered his eyes with his hand and said it was still water. And besides, instead of alchemy, he used enchantment. Elixir enchanted his eyes and said that it's worth noting, the guy's eyes are pretty good. Elixir said that he clearly has the ability, he just needs to develop it. He told the guys that they laughed at the classmate, but maybe they will try to do it themselves. With the help of his eye, he told the guys to raise their hands who are not afraid to hit the dirt. Elixir saw these people who demonstrate ability but don't become an object of adoration, keep their distance but don't cause hatred. It's a balance that teachers need to keep. He pointed his finger and asked Adlay to come to the table. The girl was surprised and confused. The teacher said he had heard that she had an excellent academic record, so she couldn't do it. Adlay gathered her strength and walked over to the flask and began to take the power of sublimation. The teacher was surprised to see her using the method of the high-ranked alchemists. But then, something began to happen and the teacher did not understand and thought it strange. But then he turned on his demonic eye, insight. Seeing all this and how she blushed, he was confused and realized that this girl is burning with excitement. Adlay said she had finished the process. The guy picked it up, examined it carefully under the table light and smashed it on the table. When he broke it, he was surprised to see it come to life and the water turned into a potion. The teacher laughed and said it was a growth potion. It can take an alchemist 3 days to create one, and the heat is not all over the body, but concentrated in one area. Probably a congenital magical anomaly. It's not uncommon in the best bloodlines. He thought it would be good for him. Rika praised Elixir for his first brilliant lesson. Elixir thanked her and said he had a question for her. He had heard that teachers can give extra and individual lessons to the best students. If he is not mistaken, is this a special class? Rika said yes. The Academy gives such a privilege to teachers who are outstanding in their field. The teacher said he'd like to teach wittily lit burn. Rika's okay with his opinion, right? Elixir said she was a promising student who could excel in the field of alchemy, and he couldn't let her go. Rika said that the decision about special classes is made at the selection meeting, so we need to decide that. Elixir was surprised to hear about the tryouts. Rika had said that the teachers would demonstrate their skills in front of the best and most gifted students. Elixir understood and said, so the students choose who will give them special classes? Then in that case he said he'd talk to her in person. But he saw some blonde guy trying to talk to her. Rika said that to be honest, Adlay's father insisted that she be taught by Mr. Vish's Bangar. It's a family decision, so she'll probably obey. However, he simply smiles back, seemingly unfazed by this information. Later, in the backyard of the academy, he lazily looked at the students. These girls were happily chatting away, and when they notice her, she immediately turns to leave. Suddenly, someone asks her if her condition is the reason she likes being alone. She looked back and was shocked to see Elixir peacefully reading on a bench. She froze, leaving her gaze on him. Elixir had told her it would be better to discuss this over a snack. The naked girl did not speak, but sat next to him, keeping a great distance in the middle. But then she looked at the teacher strangely. Elixir was taking out his lunch and seeing her look, he asked, "Is something wrong?" The girl averted her gaze and said it's okay, it's just that the sandwich looks appetizing. Elixir took a bite of his sandwich and said that he understood everything. The girl saw him eating sweetly and said that his wife must have made it for him. When Elixir heard that, he almost choked on his sandwich and told her he'd never been married. The girl was amused by this and asked if the teacher had made his own. Elixir said yes. It looked like the girl wanted to try his sandwich too, so Elixir asked her if she wanted one. Elixir opened a basket of sandwiches and told her to take whatever she liked and not to be shy. But then they both reached out to grab the same sandwich, and their hands touched. Elixir grabbed the sandwich and took a bite, telling her to eat the meat, because children need it. The girl was not happy and stared at him, because he told her to choose which one she liked. When she took a bite of the sandwich, she was surprised by the taste and said that the teacher's hands were golden. Elixir was not ashamed of anything and asked her directly if her arousal had passed. The girl looked at him and froze, sandwich in hand. Elixir said he was surprised. He didn't expect that there were students who felt lust in public. The girl squeezed her legs and asked how he knew about it. Elixir lowered his head and said that he was a teacher, so it wasn't hard for him to notice. He thought and began to worry that she would satisfy herself right in the classroom, in front of everyone. Elixir said that she didn't need to be ashamed, it's a kind of magical anomaly, when a person has strong abilities, they get excited when using them. And there's no cure for this deviation. If it's left like this, her future is doomed. The girl asked him not to tell anyone about it. Elixir moved sharply closer to her, and put his hand near her face, asking how she would act if he said he could help her overcome this peculiarity. The elixir came closer and closer to her, while sweat was running down the girl from her excitement. The girl said that the teacher himself said that she was not cured. The elixir looked at her and said that he was still offering to overcome. There was no mention of a cure. At this point she cried loudly and said that she had been trying to manage on her own all this time. She wiped away her tears and asked Elixir how he was going to help if he didn't even know her. Elixir's conditions are that she should choose him at the selection meeting, then she'll see. After all, the teacher recommended by the parents will inevitably see the symptoms and tell her father first. The girl was frightened and said it would be the end. Elixir stroked her face and told her not to panic. He can help her free herself from her discomfort after all. She just has to choose him, that's all. The next day, many people gathered in the magic arena, including the teachers themselves. The presenter said that the assembly is about special classes. Teachers will demonstrate their qualifications and then the students will choose their favorite. But the chosen teacher takes the student as his follower and mentors him individually for 1 year. Evaluators were looking at the student sheets and a girl in a fancy dress said that this year there are not many good students. Grandpa sat dejected and wiped his sweat saying that with the end of the war came peace, so over the years the quality has fallen, although nuggets like her continue to meet. The girl opened the sheets and saw the girl Adlay Lithburn, who is the daughter of the great hero, Mr. Fugel. After reading her resume, she said she was impressed. She is sure that her father advised her to choose the right teacher. This very teacher was showing off in the arena, using his flame storm skills. Grandpa said that Master Vicious specializes in magical swordsmanship. Based on his background and skills, it was already decided to assign 2 students to him. More importantly, Mr. Litburn, who favored teacher Bangar, donated a large sum of money to the academy. The girl asked the principal who the guy with the dark hair was. The principal told her that since she was away, she hadn't seen him yet. This guy Elixir Alexiel, alchemy teacher, took over just the other day. Alexiel asked surprisingly, he is the son of a retired hero. He has an ancestry, and has accomplished much himself, but he specializes in simple alchemy. The headmaster said that alchemy was clearly not something the hero's daughter should spend her time on. The girl told the headmaster that, as expected, teacher Bangar was the best candidate to mentor Lady Lithburn. Elixir walked into the arena and wondered when he saw the people, why is the academy wasting time with all the teachers? He looked at the blonde and crossed his eyes with him, because they could have just given the students a form with about 3 options and that would have been the end of it. The blonde came over and said that he didn't know if it was tradition or not, but the outcome was a foregone conclusion. He asked Elixir if he thought so too. Elixir wasn't paying attention to him, he was interested in the girl who was looking at him from the top of the arena. He said he completely agreed with the blonde. Ricky said it was time for Lady Adlay Lithburn to choose a mentor. She thought long and hard about her choice. She was faced with a difficult choice, but after looking into Elixir's eyes she said that she wanted to choose Elixir's teacher Alexiel. The blonde man was very angry when he heard that answer, and he couldn't find a place to sit, because he couldn't believe it. The blonde guy told her she'd said differently before, because he was recommended to her by her father. Did she forget? He told her the academy, he's one of the 8 heroes. She's gonna ignore his offer. The old man told the principal that the academy could do Bangar a favor. The girl asked him if he thought so. She said that if they didn't intervene, they'd be at a disadvantage. And Lady Adlay is from her father, too, isn't she? Elixir wondered if the speech about the disciple having the final say wasn't entirely true. He felt like he had to take a risk and use the demon eye. The principal said they'd do it. Why don't the 2 of them decide who's worthier in a fight? Blondie was surprised when he heard her say that there would be a fight. The principal laughed and said there would be a fight, and the winner will take Adlay under his wing. So they turned against each other and Elixir said the director had a good idea. The principal said that it was forbidden to use deadly advanced magic and techniques, but otherwise there were no rules. However, they are both teachers, so even in a fight, still have respect for each other. The old man was puzzled by her words and told the principal that the Ministry of Education would not approve the duel at the traditional selection meeting. The principal smiled and said, "Wouldn't it be better to show a visual fight between teachers as part of education?" Elixir realized that dueling was a convenient option, but he couldn't use his eyes. He can feel that woman's eyes on him. But suddenly someone told him he was the son of a famous hero couple. It was a blonde guy who said he was so young. Did he even have to serve in the army? Elixir calmly said that he was a member of a guild that suppressed the remnants of demons. Blongen laughed at him and said that compared to suppressing the remnants, he had participated in a great war. Of course he doesn't remember how many demons he killed, but he was about 13 at the time, and the number of demons that were pacified was over 1,000. Elixir showed him the flask and said if that's the case, then let the blonde be gentle with him, since he's such a great warrior. The guy didn't choose to teach alchemy because he thinks he's unrivaled at it. It's conveniently simple and unassuming. In addition, she has a great resemblance to the demon eye, only in the current situation, she can't use it. He doesn't care, he can fight even without it. The blonde took the attack on himself and said that the alchemical smoke screen was a half measure that wouldn't save him. Telling him this was ridiculous, then the blonde used his fire spear skill and attacked him with it, but Elixir easily blocked it. The blonde man was shocked. The old man asked, "What just happened? Was it alchemy too?" The principal said no, it was a magic strike. Creates a shockwave of magic to deflect an opponent's spell. After all, the lowest level ability, even mania, is hard to call. And using it requires a small amount of magical power. Even so, the technique itself is difficult, because the wrong timing of the attack will result in failure. The principal watched the fight, and licking her lips she said that it was not bad, she was beginning to like this young man. The blonde constantly attacked him with his flames, but Elixir just calmly blocked them with a magical strike. Then the blonde man tells him it's time to face his sword. Blondin attacks him with his sword, but Elixir blocks the attacks, using his staff to make Blondin not believe it. Blondin asks him how he blocks his attacks. Blondin tries his best to push his sword with anger. Elixir calmly replied that since he knew that his father was a warrior. The blonde jumped away from him to gain distance. Then he decided to activate the spell circle to use his wide area spell, however his circle slowly disappeared, leaving him in shock and panic. The blonde man began to ask what had happened and why his flame had disappeared. Elixir put his staff on the ground, and told him that fire magic is deadly, there's no arguing about it, and works well against most people. And yet, even with a dash of magic, fire remains itself, the element that is most dependent on the environment. Elixir saw the blonde man angry and sweaty. He said he advised him to move less or he would pass out from lack of oxygen. The blonde man choked, and you could see in his eyes that he was very angry and said it was impossible. Elixir said that oxygen is needed for combustion. The powder in that first thrown test tube heats up the surrounding space, drawing oxygen out of it. Taking it in his hands he said it's sodium bicarbonate, just treated with magic. The blonde man lowered his sword and said that the elixir heated the baking soda, causing it to burn. Elixir smiled at him and said that the blonde man was right. He asked him if he still wanted to continue. The blonde put his hands on the floor and screaming, called him a goddamn amateur, telling him to get in touch with him. Elixir immediately took his stand. Seeing the magic circle of heat, he realized that the blonde was going to use advanced magic. The blonde man took all his strength, and with a gust of eruption, he endured this heat and decided to attack him. Elixir was surprised to see how the blonde man had managed to melt the soil not with flames, but with lava flows. But then Elixir with his demonic gaze saw that the girl was in danger. She was slowly being covered in lava. Elixir activated his powers, his clairvoyance. He saw that things were bad and could end badly. The ability of the demonic eye to discern and anticipate the movement of both physical and magical entities. It also improves the explosive power of the body, but only for a short period of time, due to the excessive load. He then quickly recoiled, blocking lava in his path and lazily reached out, thinking that this was his trump card in the fight. At that moment there was a huge explosion, she opened her eyes and saw Elixir covered in smoke. Elixir asked her if she was okay. He picked up the girl and hugged her tightly and took her under his wing, protecting her with his body and abilities. Elixir got tired of it all and said he'd do it again. Does Blondie want to keep going? The next beautiful morning Elixir went out the window, sipped his warm tea, and rejoiced in his life. But then he remembered how he had been called a fool, and his clairvoyance would never help him in battle. After all, activating the demonic eye in the presence of higher officials is extremely rash. It only spoiled a humble victory. But then he didn't like the tea and started pouring it on the ground, making him frown. Clairvoyance is the ability of the demonic eye, which is also available to humans. Besides it, they can also use insight. Such things attract attention, but activation in public is not critical. Fossilization, captivity and intimidation are unique to demons. It's not a good idea to resort to them in public places. There are more abilities, but the rest are forbidden. Anyway, showing the demon eye to the principal was a mistake. He hoped she didn't pay attention. He thought he should be more careful from now on. But suddenly someone knocked on his door. It was the girl who asked if she could come in. Elixir greeted her kindly and told her to sit down. The girl was humble enough to say that she came to thank Elixir for helping her yesterday. Elixir sat with his back to her and said that he shouldn't be thanked, he was just doing his job. The girl blushed and even cried that the teacher had risked his life because of her. She was very sorry for what had happened. Elixir stood up and told her not to apologize if it was never her fault. And called her stupid. Elixir looked at her and said he was glad she wasn't hurt. And now she could sit down. When he took out her report card, he said that her grades were lower and almost none, but in principle she had excellent grades. Elixir said it was time to move on to her arousal. And since when did she start showing it? Hearing such a question, the girl blushed in embarrassment. Elixir said that he knew her situation, stop reacting like that every time, it was starting to annoy him. And finally, through tears, she decided to talk, and she said that she had it when she was 8. Elixir asked if anyone else knew. The girl lowered her head and said no one. She didn't dare tell anyone. Elixir said that she had definitely used magic in the past, and more than once. How did she cope then? The girl clutched her knees and couldn't say anything. Elixir got angry and said that he was listening carefully, he could tell everything. The girl dared to say that initially she was patient, and then at recess and after class, she would go to the bathroom. Or when she couldn't hold on without being seen, she'd do it under the desk. She started crying in shame and said she hated it. She's just tired of it all. She can't make friends because of her disability, and boys always look at her weird. Every time she has to use magic, it's like she's going crazy. I just can't take it anymore. Elixir took his hand and wiped away the tears that were streaming from her eyes. He told her not to worry. After all, she had chosen his mentor, he would help her cope. The girl was surprised and asked him if it was true. And how could he help her? Elixir said that he would tell her everything, and the method is very simple. This magical absorption crystal. As the name suggests, it absorbs and stores magical energy. It's a great joke for practicing with magic release. It doesn't get destroyed and absorbing large amounts of it. From now on, she has to release energy until it's broken. The girl said she can't do that. Elixir said he's not forcing her, she has to decide for herself first. And the offer was only made because he was interested in her rare anomaly. He gives her a pattern and she overcomes it. A coincidence of interests, nothing more. And so she will want to or not? The girl hesitated for a long time and finally said that she would try it. When she put her hands on the ball, something started to happen. The magic began to cover her, and because of all her strength, she didn't give up. Elixir watched all this and was silent. He realized that it was astonishing, because he had never seen the release of such amounts of energy. She is the daughter of a hero for a reason, and the magical attribute of Snow White. Universal power, which is available to all types of magic, but has a high probability of mutating into another attribute under the experience of puberty. In other words, it is easy to become an attribute of not only fire or water, but also darkness. If it is nurtured, then along with the demon I will even kill it. But then something strange started happening. water started dripping out of her. She told the teacher she couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed her hand and said that was enough for now. Now she must listen to further instructions. He told her not to touch herself. Let her keep practicing and she has to keep it up for 3 days. The girl blushed and was surprised when she heard the assignment. Elixir asked her if she could do it or not. The girl was surprised. What, 3 more days? Since today? She couldn't believe it, because she couldn't bear it anymore. Elixir said that if she can't stand it and loses it, she should think that this conversation never happened. And he doesn't advise her to hide to caress herself secretly either. He'll know everything from the look in her eyes anyway. And now she can go back to her class, said Elixir. And they'll continue at the same time tomorrow. Elixir knew the girl wasn't aware of it, and understandably so. Her deviation isn't really a disadvantage. If curbed, it can even increase potential. There are, of course, other options for coping, but he keeps them quiet for one reason. The girl must depend only on him. When she left the room she found herself in a long corridor where there were no people at all, at this moment she thought. When she got home that evening, she was saddened by Elixir's words. The next day, as she walked through the classroom, she was mocked again. Going somewhere private, she thought to herself. But then she remembered that Elixir had told her that if she fell off, this conversation wouldn't even happen. Through her tears she resisted, but she kept telling herself that she couldn't take it anymore. But then she calmed down and sat alone in silence for a long time. 3 days later, in math class, the teacher told Adlay Lithburn to solve the problem. The girl couldn't get up and fainted. Then she saw a memory from her childhood as she screamed to her father. She was the luckiest girl who was so strong that she was able to create a potion at a young age. Her father petted her and told her she was a good girl, because she had done very well. Opening her eyes slowly, she thought that her father was standing in front of her. But with the smallest of glances, she saw the teacher, and was surprised. The teacher brought her to the room. He said he could see the girl had regained consciousness. He decided to examine her to see if she had hit her head. Don't let her make any sudden movements. The girl tried to say something, but only managed to say the word teacher. Elixir told her that she had done a great job during these 3 days. The girl covered half of her face because she was blushing after what he said. Elixir poured her a glass of water and told her that she could move now. And tomorrow they will repeat the procedure again to strengthen her stamina. Adlay asked, if she continued, would the anomaly be cured in time? The elixir told her no, it won't go away. But she'll get used to it, gradually increasing the intervals. One day she'll be able to live a normal life, he promises her. She will have to make a lot of effort, but will she be able to keep it up? Elixir asked. The girl didn't say anything, but the teacher praised her and patted her. He told her that these days must have been painful. Adlay looked at him and said nothing. He said he'd stand outside so no one comes in. And she can go ahead and do it. Closing the curtains, the girl began to seduce herself and touching her body. She was over the moon. The elixir detected the time and said that the moderate power of capturing the demonic eye only temporarily freed from self-control and shame. Full power is enough to render you unconscious, but then there's no deep compulsion. And he wants to indoctrinate this girl to be dependent on him, so that she can't satisfy her arousal without him. Let her dive headfirst into pleasure, hero's daughter. After a few days, she sat quietly in class and listened. Since the last time, she has kept it up for 5 days. She's hot all over her body, and she wants to touch it right now, but it's weird that she can resist. Also, it felt so good to do it in the infirmary. She had been waiting for this moment for a long time, and when she arrived at the infirmary, she started the massage, but asked the teacher to hold her hand. Elixir put his hand on the other side of the infirmary. And the girl told him to get closer and closer to her. But then Elixir's devil sense woke up and he realized that Fugel's daughter now belongs to him, completely. After that, Elixir immediately ran to wash his hands from her drool. He wondered why the human libido was so insatiable and disgusting. He tried to calm himself down. He'd used women before, but this little girl was no different. He had to touch her hand, but it didn't matter. It was for the demon lord. But then she asked for his hand again. He held out his hand again, and he thought, what is he thinking? You can't give in to people's lust anymore. But then he saw some guy grab her arm. The girl screamed in pain and told him to let him go. He said it was the girl's own fault she smelled like that. He always liked her, she shouldn't be afraid, he'll treat her nicely. But then the guy tried to touch the girl's chest as Elixir grabbed his arm and almost broke it. But then he noticed that the guy's eyes were clouded. He's being tempted, but it's not the effect of the demonic eye. But in that case, it's clear to him now. He realized why his mind was in such chaos. The boy didn't like the gesture, and jumped on the teacher, telling him not to interfere, because this woman was his. Elixir used his eye and saw that this boy had lost all fear. This girl belongs to him. But then the guy's eye became brighter, and the guy saw the anger in his eyes, then apologized and started running. Did the elixir tell the girl that she hid something else from him? The girl realized that she had to confess everything. Coming to the teacher's office, the girl said that the anomaly affects not only her. When she uses magic, it also deprives men of reason, if they are near, even those who do not want to. Her presence alone makes such. Elixir said it means she shuns people to avoid arousing their lust. She lowered her head and said that she couldn't be friends with any other girls because their boyfriends would fall under the influence of her anomaly and break off the relationship. Even the male teachers were involved several times. And the saddest was when she went to visit a girl she had made friends with. She was almost attacked by her father after her parents divorced. That girl hated her until she went to that academy. The girl said she seduced her father. It was the worst thing that ever happened to her. Despite her natural differences, the demon lord was the same. When she was near her, she could unintentionally take the life and drive anyone who came close to her insane. That's why she always had to consciously control it so as not to kill him, but even so in her presence she was always smiling. The girl slapped her hands on the table and said that she still fought off anyone who wanted to touch her. Elixir asked her why from everyone. The girl said, yes, and that's why she is still a virgin. Elixir was surprised and asked her where she was going with this. The girl said that when she was attacked today, she heard that she belonged to him. Elixir said that when he said that, he meant that she was an important specimen for him. When she heard the words important, the girl blushed and was embarrassed. Elixir watched her and saw that aloofness was fine, but seduction. Should we deal with this problem before other students or teachers attack? Adlay said she heard that he's also a hero's baby, like her. And who exactly are his parents? Elixir lowered his head and said that they disappeared when he was still a child. He was raised by his aristocrat foster parents. The girl felt sorry for him and said she was sorry she had asked him about this unpleasant matter. Elixir put down his mug of tea and said that they were elderly and had no children of their own. And they loved him as if he were their own grandson. They died after he left home. But the memories of them stayed with him forever. Adlay understood and asked, so he has no family left now? Elixir squirmed in his chair and said that there was someone who wanted to be his family, and he had sworn to devote himself to him, only he was gone. Adlay asked if she could take her place. And she apologized for being so sudden, it's just that the teacher is for her. To avoid making a mistake, Elixir realized what she wanted to say and used the demon eye and ordered her to get excited. She was so excited that she asked the teacher to come close to her and hug her very tightly. Elixir began to caress her as her friend grabbed her by the throat and told Adlay that this feeling was not love, but just lust. She can use him for sexual gratification, but mark her place so he never hears it again. Adlay started crying and breathing very strangely. When Elixir saw her and what he did, he realized his mistake. The next day, Elixir told the boys that today he would explain what an alchemical catalyst was. But first of all, a catalyst. But then he thought about it and didn't realize what was happening to him. Everything would have gone according to plan, he just had to support Adlay. The chalk in his hands broke from the anger he was drawing on the blackboard. After all, he had ingratiated himself to people, become with women for the sake of his career, even tolerate the killing of his own kind, but here he remembered how the girl asked him to take the place of that man. Elixir wondered if she could take the demon lord's place. As he was leaving class, Adlay caught up with him and stopped him. Elixir stopped and asked why she was chasing him. Adlay let out a tear and said she wanted to apologize. She has very vague memories of having done something because of her anomaly. Elixir saw that she didn't remember him strangling her a couple hours ago, using captivity. That's on him, but why is the girl pissing him off? Elixir waved his hand and said she had nothing to apologize for. Special lesson after lunch, let her go back to class. Adlay said that she didn't tell him about how her anomaly affects others because she didn't want to be rejected by him. Only her teacher wouldn't leave her side. Can she continue to just be around him? He may not touch her, it doesn't matter. She tried to touch him and said he was the only one who could help her. Elixir saw a memory from the past as the demon queen was dying, saying she loved him very much. Elixir didn't say anything and started walking away. The girl said that even if it was just his dreams, she was still very happy that the teacher would get to know her better and try to help her. Elixir said not to misunderstand him, he doesn't reject her and doesn't mind touching her, but he doesn't want her to run after him like that. Like he said, they have a special class in the afternoon. The girl ran off and said she'd be on time. Seeing her leave, the guy felt free. Just drown further dependence on him for the demon lord. After 1 month, Adlay was getting more and more practiced and trying to control her powers and needs. Seeing her improvements, Elixir told her to now convert her magic power into a spell. And then she did a burst of light. When Adlay saw it, she told her teacher that she had succeeded. She was very happy and excited about it. Elixir saw the shards of the orb and was surprised that she had shattered it. After all, a first-class absorption crystal that even the best mages in the country take half a year to fill. The training was originally supposed to help with the anomaly, but it ended up revealing this girl's hidden abilities. When he touched the glass, he felt that she must have subconsciously suppressed her magic because of the excitement. And now that the discomfort was gone, her power had skyrocketed. If he continues to train at this pace, he will be a hero for another year, not even half a year. Adlay was jumping with happiness. Elixir put his hand on her head and told her that she had done a good job. Adlay started laughing loudly and said she was very ticklish. She has had it for 10 days and even now she feels good. It's because the teacher praises her and strokes her, isn't it? Elixir said he was ready to not only pet her, but to lend a hand when she needed it. Adlay thanked him for it, but because it would not be only hands-on, the teacher himself would be involved. Elixir realized it was time to take action. He asked her if she wanted to go out with her teacher tonight. He was ready to eat that girl. The next day they went to the academy town. Adlay was happy and said it was crowded, just like a festival. She said that today is the anniversary of the defeat of what she believes to be the 12th demon lord. Their fathers killed the 13th generation lord on this day. So the previous one was the 12th. The elixir said that even if he loses his life, the demon lord still returns to it. And his power level increases each time. Eileen said, but the time it takes to revive also becomes longer. But it took 150 bodies for the new one to appear. Until the next 180, this is the time mankind can live in peace, said the girl. However, that's only true if the demon lord is eradicated, not powered up. The heroes resorted to sealing because they couldn't kill his favorite demon lord. She was born immortal in the 13th generation. Disclosing this fact would encourage the Overlord's army to continue the grueling war to break the seal. To avoid such a development, the heroes lie about eradication, though in reality they have secretly sealed parts of the demon lord in their own bodies. The 8 heroes performed the ritual on their own, and no one knows about it but him and them. The crystal sealed by Ceruto and Lieselotte is now in his body. Elixir told her that he was hungry. And holding out his hand, he offered her a walk through the stalls. Adlay also extended her hand and said she'd love to walk with him. And a nice meal. Adlay walked through the counters like a little girl. Every delicious and interesting thing made her very happy. It was already evening, and the boys were walking home together. Elixir apologized and said that he was rarely in the town and now they were lost. Adlay smiled and hugged him, saying that it was no big deal, the main thing was that they could go out together. But suddenly he saw strange people who shot a beam of light right at them, but Elixir was able to react and stop in time. He asked them who they were. Elixir took Adlyn with him and told her to stay behind him and try not to get in the way. But then a guy opened his hood and said, "Adlay lit burn." When the girl saw him, she said it was a demon. Elixir knew that it was the hero Fugel who had destroyed his hometown, and now it was time for his revenge. Demon showed his true face and said that they are only interested in the girl, and this half-elf. It is better not to interfere. Here comes the fight between them. Elixir had to stand up for this beautiful hero girl. The demon's men launched their shadow arrows. Elixir didn't have time to react, and had to take the hit. But suddenly drops of blood began to fall to the ground. Elixir turned around and saw that there was no wound on him, but he was bleeding. The blood wind's ability to suck the blood of those who come close to him. There's a demon of high rank here. In close combat, it only takes 30 seconds to completely dry up. He's no problem on his own. Adlay told him he was bleeding. Elixir shook the dust off his clothes and said it was nothing. He told Adlay to listen to him and asked if she could distract them for 20 seconds. Adlay listened to him, and used her bright light magic. The attackers' gazes were immediately diverted to her. But she couldn't think that her magic had increased so much, and pulled the seal of light out of the ground. She didn't want to stop there, and with her attack she said she would protect him from the villains. The rays of light struck the villain. Her powers were so strong that she surrounded him with chains of light. The girl's strength has increased a lot and her fighting strength was very unique. She had been training for this for the past 2 months. The demon told the girl that she's the bloodline of 8 heroes. And she's their bloody enemy who must be killed. But then Elixir entered the battle, and while attacking, he set up his sword, and pierced through the demon's chest. This demon immediately saw something incredible in the guy, and said that his demon eye was something incredible. Elixir thanked him for falling for the information he passed on, and they gave his pawn a chance to get some real experience. Elixir looked at them and smiled, saying that they had done a great job. His most precious tribesman. Elixir looked at Adlay and asked if she was hurt, but she opened her mouth and said she couldn't take it anymore. At this point, she began to beg the teacher to let her do it, but he had to give her a hug first. They got to the bed, and their clothes came off in a second. And they started making each other feel good. But suddenly he stopped and asked her why she was crying. Adlay said she was happy to be in control with another man. Because of her peculiarity, she was always alone, but her teacher accepted her. He was able to create that bond. But then the archive saw a memory of the demon queen burning down the entire city. But then she heard strange noises. Looking around she saw a baby in a basket. She picked him up and said he was a sweet, affectionate baby and let him snuggle up to his mommy's breast. But then, something happened and the baby in the arms of the demon queen began to disappear. She did not understand what was happening. She began to wonder why she was alone. Why is she the demon lord? And started crying with grief. But then the archive saw her and reached out his hand, but when he came to his senses he saw Adlay in front of him. When he woke up at night, he saw her next to him, and started to think he'd slept with the hero's daughter. He realized how it happened. He just imagined a demon lord in her place. But then a hand touched him. Adlay stood naked in front of him and asked if he was having a nightmare. Elixir told her to go back to sleep and ignore it. It was the beginning of the 5th night. She said she had to get back to the dormitory before dawn, and took the guy and kissed him hard. After licking him she apologized and said that he had said not to ask for such a thing, but could he let her into the corner of his heart. I wish he'd let her hold his hand when he has another nightmare. She'd do anything for him. Elixir took his hand away and told her not to flirt with adults. Adlay took it and held it to her chest. Elixir said she was getting too carried away. He wasn't a child. He remembered the demon queen telling him to hold the baby against his mother's breast. She told him that everything was fine and she was there for him. Of all the lullabies, only this girl is worthy of him. Elixir got up first thing in the morning and saw Adlay next to him. But then he used his eye and started stroking her. But then he realized he'd made a mistake, and used his demon eye, incubus. This demonic-looking incubus allows you to penetrate a person's dreams, and find their memories of the past. He needs to find out more about Adlay, and understand how her life has gone and what she does. That's when he entered her memories from her childhood. Little Adlay asked him who he was. Elixir told her not to be afraid. He was asked to come by her father. The girl was surprised and very happy to hear about her father. Elixir said he wanted her to tell him about herself. The girl agreed and said she would tell him. The girl said her name was Adlay Lithburn, one of her father's many children. The siblings were divided in two. The boys that went into it, and the girls with their mother's genes predominating. She's got one father, but she's got, like, a lot of mothers. And all through her childhood, she got the cries of her mothers. Living in an institution was not easy, but if she tried hard enough, her father would pat her on the head, so that despite any pain, it could be tolerated. Elixir asked what the institution was. She said that at first there were about 50 brothers and sisters, but day by day there were fewer. One day she walked into a room and saw her brother, and when she asked the caretakers about them, she was told it was only because of the weak blood. Before she knew it, there were only 3 children left with her. The ones with weak blood were discarded, leaving only the pure bloods. She said she overheard the caretakers talking once. The information leaked out, we need to erase it, leave only one. And she never heard anything else. But in the end, she was chosen and the other kids were left in the white room. They told her she would never see her brothers and sisters again. Her father told her at the time. He said that now she will go to school and live like any other child. She doesn't have to be afraid of anything, she will just start all over again. And in the end, she will meet many new brothers and sisters. But she can't tell anyone what happened. Does she realize that? Otherwise, if she breaks her promise, she will join her former siblings. Her father asked her if she would keep her promise. Adlyn looked at him with puppy eyes and said she would keep her promise. He realized she was brainwashed. He left Adlyn just for the chance to destroy evidence and keep up appearances. She will start going to school and have a normal life. Then she will get basic knowledge and socialize with others. The world was so vast that her heart was overflowing with joy. If she showed the magic she had learned in the institution to the school, she would be praised by everyone. A lot of people would want to be friends with her and accept her into their circle. But that's just what she thought, but it wasn't that smooth. But the genetic peculiarity of her body did not allow contact with others. And every day she cried incessantly and was lonely. She begged for someone to find her. But then Elixir came to her and hugged her tightly. But then she realized that she has a man whose hands are much cooler and more gentle than her father's. And now for his sake she would do anything. But then she woke up and said that she was very fond of the teacher. Elixir said that he had to admit that he was fond of her too, even if only slightly. Elixir wiped away her tears and said that he never thought he would one day have such feelings for a person, and yet he doesn't love her and doesn't deserve to be loved. Elixir held out his hand and apologized to Adlyn, saying that meeting her had only strengthened his resolve. But he would definitely kill her father. Father Adlyn sat at his throne and was surprised about the demon eye. The blonde man said yes. The blonde man said that one of his powers was probably clairvoyance. Father Adlyn said that clairvoyance is human. It's the only excuse he has for his defeat. Blondie said there were other strange things about him. For example, Lord knew that his hero's parents were missing. Mrs. Lieselotte left him in the care of her foster father, but he was against her marriage to Mr. Ceruto, so she didn't have any contact with him. Not only that, but when he got back on his feet, both foster parents died and the inheritance was signed over to him, even though they didn't have kids of their own. It still looks weird. He's definitely not that easy. The Lord said he recommended him to mentor Adlay so he could keep an eye on her. You couldn't let any bugs near her precious daughter. But the demon eye brings back memories. Elexiel, I must see him. 1 month passed, Elixir was still teaching at the academy. And her student, Adlyn, was still learning from him. Adlay's training in overcoming her physical peculiarity is going well, so that others begin to be friends with her. Adlyn was sitting in class when suddenly a girl next to her started poking her with a pen. She showed her something in her notebook and smiled. Adlay's features have more advantages than disadvantages. Her hot flashes can be transformed into a state where human abilities are pushed to the limit. Having been taught that, having suffered inconvenience, pleasure awaited her, Adlyn began to listen to him in everything. Another half a year, and it will be a ready-made weapon for killing heroes. The transformation of the attribute of Snow White magic is already underway, but what kind of color will be better? But suddenly all the doors opened and a girl came in, shouting to the teacher Alexiel. He turned around and looked at her. He asked her what was wrong. She was so out of breath. Ricky said the academy director was calling her in. Director, Elixir was surprised. Did he really know about the demon raid that month? No, there were no eyewitnesses, he had taken care of it with his demonic eye and covered up any traces. What, then, is the reason? Elixir knocked on the office. The principal said that since he's already here, he can come in. When he came in, he was surprised. The girl apologized for the suddenness of it, but someone wants to meet him. Let him see, he's got a hell of a man here. He was wondering why him. It was Fugel Lieselotte. He extended his hand and said it was a pleasure to meet you. He's tutoring her daughter. Elixir, seeing his hand, began to cheer himself up, and his thoughts told himself to calm down and not to say too much. He knew that if he lost his temper now, it would all be for nothing. He still didn't have enough strength to deal with him. He knew he couldn't make a mistake and let this moment go. And deal with the future as he should. Elixir smiled and told Mr. Lieselotte that his parents had told him a lot about him. And thanked him for taking care of them during the war. And he was honored to meet him in person. Elixir said to himself that he should not be hostile or afraid of him. He should answer politely, but he should not hide his confidence. Lieselotte said that the boy's parents, Ceruto and Lieselotte, would probably curse him, since they were the ones who took care of him. Elixir said that he was sure they weren't telling all good stories, but to subdue the demon lord without his decisive wisdom would definitely not be possible. Lieselotte said that the guy is flattered, but he's honest. He doesn't reproach him for his opinion. Although, as a friend, he has done nothing for his parents. Elixir said that her mother had flowers in her garden, which she cared for with all her heart. As she told him, they were given to her by a friend on the occasion of marriage, so that her love with her father would take deep roots and would not fade for many years. And Lieselotte was the only one who blessed their wedding when everyone else refused to acknowledge. But saying that, her mother smiled. Lieselotte was surprised and asked if it was Lisa. He suggested that he would like to visit his daughter, but he hadn't been to the academy since the new building was built. And to be honest, he's a little uncomfortable in the presence of a teacher. Elixir asked if he was talking about the academy director. The principal said that Elixir is his student. He's also the unstoppable president of the academy board, okay? That's how he got his nickname, the Bloody Stern One. Elixir apologized and asked how old the director was. But then Lieselotte tried to talk him out of it. He would not tell about the old woman even under the threat of torture. The principal said that Lieselotte had already started talking. He realized that they were doing badly and told Elixir to run away quickly. Elixir thought that he must have come to the academy because he had become Adlay's personal teacher. I couldn't believe that he had come all the way to the academy himself. He realized that his decision was a bad one. So he's definitely going to take him off as her mentor. Lieselotte said the visit to the academy was related to the selection meeting. He thinks that's what Elixir is thinking right now. Elixir thought he was actually doing well. Now he has to play the role of teacher next and press on with determination. Elixir said he understood that Lieselotte was now outraged because his daughter had been recommended another teacher. However, he himself, as a teacher and as an alchemist, saw in her the potential for alchemy. Lady Adlay is a gem for the future of this field. Therefore, he asks him to let her continue to be assigned to him. Lieselotte said he thought the kid misunderstood him. He didn't come to the academy for that. Elixir asked if it's really that one. Lieselotte said that his parents Ceruto and Lieselotte are still missing. Did they say anything to him? Elixir said no. They only promised they'd be back soon. Why is he suddenly asking him? Does it have something to do with his decision to attend the academy? Lieselotte said they had nothing to do with it. He just heard a rumor that Elixir Alexiel uses the demon eye. Neither Ceruto nor Lieselotte could have it. It's mostly transmitted by blood, but yes, there are abnormal cases. But then he went up to the guy and told him his hair was black. Liz is blonde, and so is Ceruto. Elixir said that he must be descended from his grandfather on his mother's side. He was told that he was a skilled archer with clairvoyance. 6. Lieselotte said that he did have dark hair, which is rare for elves, but this is the first time he's heard of clairvoyance. Elixir said there's a record of it at the foster parents' house. And he was interested in his grandfather, the Litburn kid asked. He said no, he's not interested in him, he's interested in the guy Elixir. Why is he hiding his demon eye? It would guarantee him a good future in the regular army. Elixir thought long and hard about what to say and said the man was right. Litburn asked if there was any other reason. Let him say if so. Elixir thought and finally said there was a reason, but not a very good one. He owes his achievements on the battlefield to his clairvoyance, but relying on him too much has been a painful experience. He is a half-elf. And he can't use his eye as well as his grandfather. In the end, due to exhaustion, he didn't prevent the death of his comrades. So he decided to become strong enough not to rely on the power of the eye, and found out that he didn't have any special talent for battle. Fortunately, his efforts were not in vain and came in handy in teaching. By the way, he did not say that he was hiding it, just tried not to show it unless necessary. Litburn said he realized that the Elixir was afraid to use clairvoyance. Elixir said no, let Litburn introduce, the man who cheats students diligently hone skills, himself boasting a demon eye. But in general, it's not nice and he doesn't like it at all. Suddenly they were silent for a while, not knowing what to say. Suddenly Litburn started laughing out loud and said it's not nice to brag about the demon eye. What a funny way of thinking. Elixir said he was just born with it, didn't he? Basically, it's like a rich kid bragging to the poorer ones. And considering he's an adult, it's even more disgusting. Litburn started laughing even louder and said that he was wrong about disgusting. Elixir said, and why laugh so loudly at it? Litburn looked at him and apologized. Litburn said he had some doubts about his identity. He wondered if he was the child of those two. He put his hand on the boy's head and said it was a mistake. He is their son without a doubt. He has both the willfulness of the Lieselottes and the stubbornness of Ceruto. If that's the case, he can safely entrust him with his daughter. Elixir was very surprised by his words. But the girl who didn't understand who Elixir was talking to was watching them. But finally she recognized her father and couldn't believe he had touched the teacher's head. And now he's stroking it. But suddenly he saw Adlay, and he hugged her with a smile. He asked her if she looked better. But then he said that it was not expected from her daughter. Adlay blushed and said that she was a bit embarrassed, not in front of the teacher. Litburn said he was proud, it's not a bad thing to show it, so he called Elixir to him. Elixir was shy, too. Litburn said the three of them should talk. Is there a sunny spot around here? Is the old courtyard still standing? Elixir said yes, and decided to lead them into the courtyard. Litburn said he missed the academy very much. After spending the day with Litburn, Elixir came to his room and didn't understand what was wrong. He looked very nervous and took a glass of water and poured it on himself. Putting his hands on the table, he wondered what the hell was going on. He was suddenly very cold from all of this. After all, Fugel Litburn has defiled and defamed the demon lord. He is an unimaginably vile man. He raised his own children like cattle and got rid of them if he didn't see their value. But at the same time, his face, Elixir always saw in his dreams, and this time it looked like it wasn't fake. He smiled sincerely, without any falseness. Cruelty and evil, good and pure. It combines everything at once. But it's disgusting from the outside. His nerves made him so hot that his heart began to pound. He kept telling himself to calm down. But so far, he's done well, and he's done well for sure. He said he's busy and dropped by the academy on business, but he'll be around for a couple of days, then he'll come back for a visit on his way back. But it doesn't matter if he lets him go or faces him, but he needs insurance from now on. Strength, information, anything goes. He had no choice but to decide whoever and however he wanted. But then he remembered the headmaster saying that Elixir was his student. And now he had no choice, he had to. But suddenly someone knocked on the door and asked, "Teacher Alexiel, in the study?" "It's Ricky's secretary." Ricky opened the door and saw Elixir and told him he was here. Elixir asked her what was wrong. Ricky was scared and said he was wet. Elixir grabbed her and kissed her, licking her lips. Ricky asked what was that and why all of a sudden. Elixir used her demon eye, and she sat on her knees. He told her if she wanted him, she could tell him everything she knew about the principal. Ricky was too excited and said she would. Elixir grabbed her from behind and asked how old the principal was. Ricky said that she had complained that she would be 300 this year. The Elixir said she wasn't human. She doesn't look like a dwarf or an elf. Ricky, through her agony, said she was a witch. Elixir saw that things are bad. And so far, zero useful information. What kind of witch is she? Ricky said it was classified information. Elixir told her to spill it and then he'd do her for real. Ricky said she was part of the team that subdued the previous demon lord. Elixir was stunned when he heard that. He realized that the survivor was a hero of a past generation. Back then, things weren't just bad, they were terrible. But no, she is still weaker than the current heroes. And the former demon lord was inferior to the sealed one. The witch's powers were at their peak at around 150 years old. If she's already 300, then she's probably weakened, and we can take advantage of that. Elixir used his eye again and told her to give more information. Ricky told the teacher in agony that he'd give him anything, but he'd have to be even harder on her. Director Desiree's real name is Bibliophilia. One of the former demon lord's subjugators. And a former hero, awe-inspiringly named the Great Witch. But since her retirement, no one has noticed her using magic. There is a strong theory that she lost most of her powers in the battle with the Overlord. Besides, she is already 300 years old, so age must be taking its toll. Her social circle is small, not a single story of an affair with a man. But someone knocked and the Elixir came out. The man was surprised and asked, "Wasn't Mrs. Ricky supposed to pick up today?" Elixir said yes, it was him instead. The man told him to check the goods. When he opened the package, he saw the bottles of alcohol and said, "How many bottles of alcohol are there?" The man said that Mrs. Director drinks it all herself. The man told him to be careful if he took it to her personally. He'd probably have to stay there all night and drink it together. Elixir signed the paper and thanked him for the advice. The Elixir pulled a bottle from the crate and began to drink, knowing that even that wasn't his. An enemy hero and a great witch with resistance to the demon eye. But to make it work on her, you need additional means. Like this fatal potion. It is a powerful fast-acting drug that significantly reduces resistance to magic and liberates. No taste, no smell. He's sure it's unrecognizable. But suddenly someone shouted out to him and asked him if he was the Elixir. And what happened to Ricky? She's going to have another drink with her tonight. Elixir said she wasn't feeling well, so she asked for a switch. The principal said that's it. She thought they'd sit here and unwind a little, but Elixir came instead. So he's her partner. Elixir smiled and said he would be happy to sit with her as long as she needed. So they started drinking together. Elixir licked his lips and holding the glass in his hand said that he had never drunk such a delicious wine before. The principal said it's a good thing Elixir is alcohol resistant. Rika has trouble with it, she gets sick almost immediately. Elixir smiled and told her to call him anytime she wanted to drink such delicious wine. The director was surprised and asked Elixir, would he really be okay with it? If he hangs out with an old woman like that, he'll run away from the young one right away. Elixir heard these words and spat out the wine and said that he asked her not to say such nonsense. The principal said, did she really hit the bullseye? But she's really messing with him. After all, Elixir is a good-looking guy, so he must be popular with the students, and the teacher is a naughty boy. Elixir opened the next smile and said that there is no such thing. He means that Mrs. Director is not an old woman. When he first saw her, he found her very beautiful and attractive. He pretends to be calm, but now they're alone. And the excitement is making itself felt. Elixir asked her if she knew what he was talking about. The principal denies it and tells him to stop bullying her. She's so much older than him that he can't be serious about it. Elixir said it wasn't. But then he started hitting on her and stroking her lips. Now it's time to take action. There's no former hero anymore. And no great witch. Just an old hag who hasn't had a man in years. The weakening was a success. At this close range, any opponent would be powerless. Using part oblivion and part captivity, she becomes his completely. The effects of the demonic eye of oblivion will make her forget everything she said in 30 minutes. The former hero has fallen, now she's his puppet. He can take them out on his own. But then she clutched him to her chest and told him he was screwed. He underestimates heroes too much. Elixir didn't understand what was happening. He was sure that the demon eye had definitely worked. But then he realized that it was a woman. She was not a human or a witch. She was empty inside. The elixir said she could use the demon eye. Oblivion, captivity, epiphany. I wonder if there's more. This is the first time he's ever seen the same eye be able to activate different abilities at will. But then he realized that he had to resolve this situation at least. And he started to excite her even more. The principal said she doesn't advise him to do that. He should realize that the sound of fighting here will attract other teachers, right? But then she said that if that was the case, she opened the gate. At that moment, a magical portal opened and started pulling him in. Magical hands began to embrace him from different sides and pull him inside. He didn't understand what kind of magic this was. After passing through the magical portal, he found himself in a place that was unfamiliar to him, where it was very dark and the place was built with large pillars. Elixir asked where he was. But then a voice from behind said that he was welcoming the boy into his maze. It was the principal sitting on her throne. She said she was asking him to stop asking such stupid questions. A teacher who teaches magic should have a clue. Elixir looked at her angrily and said it was the quasi-maze. It is the forbidden magic of legendary witches. It is created to catch and hold a target. One can only get out of it if he defeats the witch. Inside the labyrinth, her aging process is halted and her powers are doubled. The space is absolutely dominated by the witch. The principal said the guy was right. Elixir looked at her and asked, so he's completely set up? The principal said that he thought he was the only one. Even though she used a doll, she still fell under his demonic eye of oblivion and will forget their conversation in exactly 30 minutes. But it's a good thing the witch has a high resistance to captivity at least. Elixir asked, didn't she lure him into the labyrinth on purpose? The principal said yes, but alas, there she was completely defenseless. And then she showed her eye, which is in the middle of her chest. And then she pulls the sword out of her chest. She thought hard and asked why she shouldn't take her frustration out on him. After all, he's in foreign territory. Elixir was angry and didn't want to give up without a fight. At that moment he opened his portal and expressed his cane with it. Elixir didn't hesitate and used his clairvoyance attack. The principal didn't stay silent either and attacked him with raging beams. Elixir told himself that he should forget about defeat. Now he had to do whatever it took to survive. But the beams were attacking him from different directions, so he decided to shorten the distance, and bind the witch in close combat. But then she spotted him and launched a magic transformation attack. And fusion, absolute light. Elixir was very surprised to see this, and froze for a moment. The principal decided to test her attack on him and attacked him with a beam of light. Elixir was so angry and surprised by the witch's abilities that he took the attack on his cane. The force was so great that he was pushed backwards. But then there was a big explosion. The girl was surprised and said she had underestimated the guy. He was able to repel her magic with a special magical strike. But it's a pity that only his blade broke. But in a moment, his blade began to regenerate by itself. The girl was surprised that it was not an ordinary good sword, but a handmade mercury sword. The girl insulted him and asked him if he was thinking of becoming a blacksmith. Elixir knew it was useless to say it out loud. He knows no matter how much effort he puts in, the son of weapons, the supreme flame of his talent, will never compare to the level of a hero. Just as he was an incapable demon, nothing changed when he was reborn as a human. But even so, he's still here. And when he saw his demon queen in front of him, he said he wasn't going to give up. In the darkness howled beams of light from his eyes, which shone brightly and viciously, highlighting some lines behind him. The girl asked if he was kidding. Did he think physical magic could defeat her? And it started out so interesting. But then she realized that the elixir was using a mercury trick. And she was surprised by this attack that she was defeated. But then he changed his point of attack, and launched a demonic Eye of Oblivion attack that should work on her. But if he erased the memory of this moment, then there would be a small window, and his sword would get her. But then the girl smiled and used Blackout's power. Elixir didn't understand or see anything. He said her intelligence was impressive, but her approach was too simple. But the couple ended it all and used the falling block attack. But then the guy's body started bleeding. The girl said it's true. What she likes about him is his vitality. But then she reached out to him on purpose and said what a refreshing feeling. And sitting on the throne, she thanked him for giving her a break after all these years. Now they should just talk. Elixir asked why they should start talking now. The girl said it was because it was no fun to kill him without finding out why he was targeting her. The girl lit up the phone and told him to tell her his story. She'd let him go if she thought it was interesting. Elixir thought about it and asked, what's the point if he tells? And she would find out, and then what would happen? It'll all be forgotten in 30 minutes anyway. And there's no reason for her to let him go alive. The girl thought about it and said she was trying to help him. Why would he deprive himself of such a chance? Elixir said she was crazy. He's not a fool to trust her, tell her everything and end up getting killed. The girl said that the guy is a very stubborn fool. She hit the throne with a pipe and said that from now on, according to the law of her labyrinth, all lies are forbidden. Elixir turned around and realized that this was the labyrinth owner's oath. From now on, he would not be able to lie here. But of course the oath also applies to her. Everything she says will be true too. The girl pointed her finger and told him to tell him, if she liked it, she'd let him go. Elixir realized that she would forget everything he said anyway. So only he would win in the end. But it can't be that smooth. The girl said the guy was very tedious. So she decided she'd tell him her story first. There at the academy, it's actually her doll, which she remotely controls with magic. She's in a labyrinth because she can't get out. The old demon lord put a curse on her with words. If she leaves this labyrinth, she dies. When she trapped and killed him here. That's the reason why she can't influence the outside world, only with the help of the puppet. Stupid situation, wouldn't you say, boy? Elixir understood and knew the oath wouldn't let her lie. She wants to let him go so he can help in return. Of course, and anyone would be willing to help, especially since she's a former hero. The girl suggested the guy be honest, and he's actually at her mercy. His demon eye was able to break through the doll to the real body. She was interested in him, so why not find out more about him? Elixir realized there was no other option. He said that he was a demon, came to the academy to kill the 8 heroes, and resurrect the 13th demon lord. He told her everything he'd never told anyone before. And how he'd parasitized a child and killed her parents, and how he'd treated Adlay and made her his pawn. And the urge to kill heroes. The girl began to mock him with her squeaky laugh. Elixir asked what was happening to her. The girl said that now she understands cruelty. Most of all she liked the part about eating the soul of the child of the heroes and how the mother was forced to kill the father. That's the most disgusting story she's ever heard. How charming and entertaining. It's a pity she's not his target. Elixir asked what's so interesting. She's actually really sick. The girl said she's actually a former hero, and they all fall into 3 main categories. First, ordinary guys with just extreme skill and physical endurance. The second are the righteous who sincerely want to save people and their acquaintances with minimal sacrifice. And the third are those who find no meaning in their existence all wars. Now does the guy understand what she wants? Since he's planning to kill 8 heroes to free the sealed demon lord, she's all for it. It'll be fun. Elixir got angry and asked loudly, isn't she, as a former hero, on the side of the people? The girl told the archives, she needs to make a war like hell. She's going crazy with boredom in this maze. Let him make her heart beat faster with the devastation he brings. And she didn't take sides in the first place. In the last war, I stood up for the humans simply because they were weak enough to be exterminated. Elixir now understood what this girl had in mind. It's more fun to fight for the weaker ones, isn't it? He's beneath people, beneath witches, beneath heroes, beneath everyone. The girl said she can see the guys starting to get it. He's in big trouble, Fugel and Shiage, from picking apart his personality, right? So why don't she give him a little help? The girl went up to the guy and caressed him with her hand. The girl asked him if he would help her. But he realizes she can't get out of here, so she can only advise him. Elixir grabbed her and told her to tell him what his weakness is. What is Fugel Litburn's weakness? What can he do to defeat him? The girl said he needs to take it easy for starters. So he has no weaknesses as such. In a one-on-one battle, Elixir would inevitably lose to him. Even using his daughter in her current state, Elixir said he knows that without her. The girl said that instead of weaknesses, she could tell him about his hobbies. Elixir asked, and what use is he to them? The girl asked if he knew what he was called during the heroic days. He was called the Demon Eye Hunter. Taking them from demons and collecting them was his hobby. The girl said that he took the demon eye and transplanted it instead of his own right eye. Elixir said it's nonsense. Humans can't handle the demon eye because the nerves will be destroyed, and the brain won't be able to withstand it either. The girl said that he's transplanting disposable nerve endings because he's been actively conducting magical experiments on humans. He has access to all kinds of materials. Elixir said it was impossible anyway. How many victims would be needed? But then he remembered the children his daughter had told him about. He realized that Adlin's brothers and sisters, they were material for him. The girl said yes, that's how he learned to use the demon eye. He has no abilities, but the demonic eye has them. Elixir realized that weaknesses are definitely there and options to use them too. It may be tricky, but it's still possible to deal with him. The girl said he's using the demon eye right now. Fossilization, given that it involves eye contact, that's already his weakness, right? Just how to create a situation for him where he has to use his eye. She likes the elixir a lot, but she also finds that damn harsh one entertaining. Elixir said, she's all ready, what's so busy about that bastard? The girl said, he's shallow, his every action is for the good of the people. He may be selfish, but he sacrifices himself. And nerve replacement is not a cure-all. If you keep using the eye, it will eventually go crazy. Isn't knowing this and still going on, the highest form of self-sacrifice? Only children with strong genes are chosen as successors to defeat the demon lord. In the same way, those who are useless from birth are left for the sake of the nerves for the eye of the successor. Even though the method is radical, everyone contributes to the overthrow of the future demon lord. This is his conviction as a hero. Elixir said what kind of conviction the hero is talking about. She can't even imagine the loneliness Adlay went through after losing her siblings because of him. He said he refuses to accept that this guy, who is her own father, be called a hero. The girl laughed and said the guy doesn't admit it. Only Elixir, isn't he the same? For the sake of resurrecting a demon lord, absorb a fetus and pretend to be someone else. Killed the parents who raised him. However, he still feels sympathy and pity for Adlay because she is being used in this way. Does he know what they're called? It sounds insulting, but these people are hypocrites. Fugel was one too. He was a ridiculous hypocrite. In the garden of his mansion, there's a flower field where all the sacrificed children are buried. He used to go there every day, fall on his knees and pray with tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, your deaths will not be in vain. Such a hypocrite makes me sick. They're actually the perfect couple. Elixir panicked and screamed that he's not like that creep. The girl said they look alike. If he wants to take him down, then he'll have to act just as shameless and proud. By the way, Elixir was originally a demon, so stop acting like one. Elixir said no, they're different. The girl told him to accept, an incorrigible rotten hypocrite and a scumbag. That's what he is. The girl apologized that they were ending on a negative note, but time was running out. And at the end, how about a parting gift of more advice from the Great Witch? The girl pushed him and said that justice and vice have no meaning. No matter what, the truth is what's inside him. Let him follow his heart. Elixir went through the portal and woke up in the principal's office, where she was lying drunk and asleep. He opened the door carefully and walked out, realizing that it was bad for him to use the demon eye. It put a huge strain on his body. It won't be an hour before he passes out. But he's already hallucinating, and he needs to get to his room fast. But in any case, he didn't get enough information from the principal. He should have gotten more. She had him bamboozled like a baby. This is the true power of a hero. However, the experience was useful. Previously he had vainly thought that he could win alone, but now he was able to accept reality. The meeting was not in vain. Moreover, he had nothing to lose. And in response to the word scumbag should have just laughed, take it as a compliment, and proudly declare that it was for the Demon Lord. He did everything. For the sake of the Demon Lord's return, he for her sake and yet for his own sake, he thought about it. He entered his mind and thought that he should not use the Demon Lord as an excuse for the atrocities he had committed. She wouldn't approve of something like that. He's always talking about revenge, but he just wants to see her, right? And to kill the 8 heroes, he wants to feel relief, no? But then he's already completely shriveled up and took his hands on his head, because then he'd have something to prove his own impotence. He had to admit, he liked to play with people. His heart trembled at the thought that he was doing evil things for his own sake. He tried to resist his thoughts and denied it. The voice in his head was telling him that he knew it was like this. This whole revenge thing was a personal vendetta. He realized that he was already hallucinating, so he was at his limit. But then his eyes closed and his surroundings went dark. When he opened his eyes, he heard someone yelling at him. And he saw Adlay's student in front of him. She said she wanted to talk to him, so she waited in her room, but he never came back and she got worried. She hugged him and told him that she was going to pick him up and told him to just stay still. But then she felt that his body was very cold. If she didn't take immediate action and warm him up a little. He wondered what he was going to do with this girl. He hugged her tightly and couldn't let go. The girl told him that there was no problem. No matter what happened to him, she would always be by his side. Now he was beginning to realize that the principal was right, he was the worst scum. If he were to censure the evil in that person and detest the goodness, those feelings would boomerang back to him. Now he realized that it seems that they are indeed the same. He has no right to criticize him. He does not have to justify his revenge and justify it to the Demon Lord. It was also wrong to try to implicate the girl's past. She had nothing to do with his revenge, and if he wants to use her, he should treat her like a tool. Putting aside all guilt and attachment, he had no right to test her from the beginning. He'll exact his revenge himself. Just give in to the warmth of this girl one last time. In rainy weather, a man was digging under a tree, and when he found unidentified bones, he fell to his knees and said that it was really Ceruto and Lieselotte. He called them friends and said that they had to split up to keep the Demon Lord sealed, but he shouldn't have left them alone. He apologized and said that if he had looked after them a little better, he decided to bury them in a proper grave. But until then, he asked them to rest here. He put on his costume and said he promised to finish off the bastard who killed and defamed them. This is the oath of one of the 8 heroes, the Holy Knight Fugel. The next morning Elixir woke up in a sweat, and when he opened his eyes he saw Adlay standing next to him crying. He asked her how long he had been out. Adlay said it had been 2 days. She told the academy that he wasn't feeling well. Elixir said it's a lot to lay around like this. Adlay told him not to say that someone attacked him like that, didn't she? She said that whoever hurt him, but then she scratched her nose and sneezed loudly before finishing her words. Elixir calmed her down and told her that no one had attacked him. It was just a failed experiment with a new potion. Adlay said that even a teacher can make a mistake. Elixir said yes, he messed up the mixture, which caused a huge explosion that blew up the lab. He himself was also affected by the explosion, and what's worse, his perfect hair was turned into chaos. And he had to channel all the magic power to restore his hair and laboratory, and not enough to heal himself. In general, he was left without a single grain. Adlay said she was scared to even imagine. Elixir looked at her and realized how stupid she was. Elixir smiled and said he was hungry. He asked if she could cook something. Adlay said yes, and she'll do it right. After a while, the girl was doing the dishes. And the teacher was finishing his tea. He says it's very nice weather today. He tells her to get ready to go out. He suggests she skip class and go on a trip. Elixir ordered a carriage with horses and brought her to the most beautiful place. She got out of the carriage and was delighted with what she saw. He said his foster parents' villa is by the lake. Adlay said it's okay to be here instead of studying. He hugged her and said it's not normal. They, teacher and student, won't tell anyone about it. Besides, she's feeling lust and arousal, right? Adlay immediately forgot about everything and said that she thought they could swim here in the summer on the lake. Elixir thought and stuck her hand into the lakes, and used heating magic to make her enjoy the moment and bathe. He said, if memory serves, there was a bathing suit in the house. He realized that bringing Adlay here was not the result of a fleeting desire. A secluded lake couldn't be a better place to fight. This is where everything will be decided forever. Adlay came up to him and told him that the swimsuit had indeed been found, but it was a little small. It doesn't look good on her, does it? Elixir smiled and said that he thought it was extremely indecent. But then she got angry. The teacher said he was joking. It looked good on her. Adlay climbed into the ood and asked Elixir if he wanted to go for a swim. He said it was fine to sit there, as long as he could see her huge breasts swaying. She climbed under the water and told him he wasn't looking. She snuck up on him and grabbed his arm and dragged him into the water. He looked at her underwater and wondered if he should just run away with her. He dismissed the thought as soon as it occurred. Even if he's forced to break up with this girl, he'll still kill the hero for all it's worth. In the evening, someone entered the teacher's dormitory of the academy and held a knife in his hands, hoping to kill someone. But then he saw a letter on the pillow and squeezed it, realizing that her daughter Adlay was in danger. That night Elixir waited for the girl's father in the castle. Suddenly the door opened and the man who had snuck into his room walked in. The Lord said, "What an oppressive atmosphere, but they have time to talk, Elixir." The boy looked at him and smiled. Elixir said he understood. The Lord had read his note. The note said that Adlay is with him. If he wants her back unharmed, he should come alone. And he knows what he's done to Adlay and the other children. The Lord said Elixir left it in his room. Like he knew he was going to get in there. Elixir bowed and said he welcomed the hero Fugel Lieselotte. And he was actually waiting for him. Lieselotte asked where his daughter was. If he gives her up safe and sound, he'll keep him alive. Elixir said he was so obsessed with this particular heiress. Are they done with mass production yet? Lieselotte said the guy doesn't know anything. They're his precious children, including Adlay. Elixir said they're just pawns to kill the demon lord. Lieselotte looked at him and said that the boy was right. Elixir said that he was using the lives of his own children to achieve a specific goal. Only the last bastard would do such a thing. Lieselotte asked, what about him? Why did he kill Ceruto and Lieselotte? He'd already found their bodies. And only Elixir could be the culprit. The guy realized that even though he had considered this option, he still couldn't believe that he had found out the truth so easily. I wonder how, although it didn't matter now. He called him here with the intention of killing him from the beginning anyway. The Elixir told him that if he found the bodies, he should know why he killed them. The truth that the 8 heroes have been hiding. The sealed demon lord. He took the 2 crystals from his parents. And his goal is to retrieve the 13th demon lord. Lieselotte said he understood and he's sorry. And he doesn't care who he is or where he came from, but why is he trying to bring her back to life? Does the boy know how much despair the demon lord embodies? She kills with her presence. With one look she burns everything in black flames. He had seen with his own eyes how much despair that woman had brought, when the people he cared about were not even ashes. No matter how strong the heroes were, they disappeared, unable to do anything. Their efforts, intelligence, talent, bonds, friendship, love overnight were destroyed by the cruelty and ruthlessness of the demon lord. And he saw it and vowed to avenge the regrets of those whose lives were cut short. Even if he sinks to the bottom of the abomination, he will leave descendants that will kill the demon lord. Such is his duty and justice. Elixir Alexiel answer, does he have the resolve to act against his justice? Elixir stepped on him and realized that this man was pursuing justice, even by brutal means. He is determined to kill the demon lord for the sake of mankind. Elixir said that if he thought that Lieselotte was right, then he could be evil. Self-loving evil that knows no bounds. Like he always has been, he just wants to see her again. Lieselotte heard these words and began to mock him loudly. He attacked him and told him to die. Elixir repelled his attack and said that his favorite clairvoyant was only with him. But then Lieselotte said that no, not only with him. Elixir said that Lieselotte is one of the 8 heroes, and he will reclaim the demon lord even if his death is at stake. Elixir saw that Lieselotte had taken a drug enhancement. By the looks of it, the dose was unequivocally lethal. Lieselotte said that's ridiculous. He didn't think the guy would challenge him with such poor preparation. With his powerful attack, he said that the guy really underestimates heroes and their abilities in battle. At that moment, Lietburn's light was so bright that it illuminated the entire village. He caused the meteor shower to crucify with his powers. Elixir didn't wait and began to dodge the attack. He realized that the reinforcement of the drug increased the effectiveness of magic, muscles and regeneration. In this case it is not the damage caused by it, but the damage caused by excessive activity of clairvoyance that needs to be healed. But now he's completely abandoning his defenses. To force him to use his demon eye, he needs to attack and attack and attack. But as he approached for his attack, Lieselotte saw it and drew his sword, deflecting his blow. Lieselotte said that the boy inherited his mother's enchantment abilities well, but in terms of physical strength, he is not even close to his father. And then he said that he was about to show what Sarutto's swordsmanship looked like. Elixir used all of his abilities to stay alive and managed to fend them off. Lieselotte said that the guy was gripped by fear, he made the wrong decision. But then his sword broke, and Lieselotte hit his shoulder. Stepping forward he said that he wasn't done yet, and let him look at the swordsmanship. Elixir saw that the defense magic didn't give him a scratch. He can't last much longer. He needs to break the distance. Lieselotte managed to grab his head and said that truly is a man who keeps making mistakes. He didn't give him a chance. Holding the guy down, he started making fun of his face. And it brings back memories for him. The face of a beast, unable to fight at all because it is broken by fear and shame. Just like the demon lord who was abused by his subordinates. But then Elixir remembered all the moments he had lived that day. And taking his spear, he wounded Lietburn's arm. Elixir got down on his knee and drank the potion from the vial, making him stronger. Lieselotte started laughing at him and told him to start floundering. He pulled out all his power and said he'd take Lieselotte away, rape and kill all his loved ones. He'd taste more pain and humiliation than she had and die in despair. And die at his hands. But at that moment, the elixir began spitting blood. Lieselotte said that it was the effect of the drug's enhancement and clairvoyance, and he dared to challenge it with this level of strength. Elixir said it was right, he didn't believe he could do it from the start. So he only sought to convince him that he was serious. In this place, and at this distance, Lieselotte said the guy was so weak and managed to kill those two. He still can't believe it, so in memory of Sarutto and Lisa, he'll send him to hell with his best attack. But then Elixir told him to stop and stand still. Taking Adlay in front of him he said that one more step and she would die. Adlay asked where she was and what was going on. Elixir asked if she was awake. But then she asked if it was the teacher. Lieselotte told her not to make any sudden movements. But then she recognized his voice and asked if her father was here too. Adlay asked the teacher what it was all about. The elixir cut her possession and said it was all revenge. She begged him to stop and not to do it. Elixir said that it was easy to tame this girl. It was enough to listen to her trivial worries, to comfort her, and she was already attached to him like a mongrel. Adlay asked him why she was doing this. Elixir told Lieselotte to watch what she can't believe even now. She seems to think he really loves her. She's a studious, stupid girl. What's it like to have something of value taken away from him? She didn't even realize he was using her as a means to kill him. It's a pity that only Lieselotte didn't see his daughter moaning and squirming her ass in front of him. And started laughing out loud. Adlay said no, he's lying. If she'd been used as a tool from the beginning. Her father saw his daughter only as a means to prolong his lineage. But don't let her say that deep down inside she doesn't understand. For him she is no different from her brothers and sisters from the institution. She was brainwashed, used and thrown away. And for him she is nothing more than a pawn. Lieselotte told him to stop and asked him what he wanted. Elixir said he wanted him to take the crystal out of his heart and die. To kill him and save Adlay, he needs the demon eye, and he realizes it. And with every action he takes, he's pushing him to use his ability. He's only a meter away from its range now. If he takes a step, he'll be petrified. And right after that, the trap will be triggered. Come on, one of the 8. Die at last and find him to free the Lord. Lieselotte says no, his demand is unacceptable. And he will give his daughter back for the dream. But then he took that step and the guy's hand started to turn to stone. He told him to turn to stone and the devil died. Elixir realized that he had won and his plan had been successfully completed. But then the seal opened and Lieselotte did not understand what was happening. He tried to take further steps, but the power of the seal held him back. And then he was sealed into a big ball. When he came inside he saw walls made of mirrors. He was angry. How did the guy know about his demonic eye? Elixir said yes, the demonic eye's weakness is the mirror. It reflects the ability of the gaze, superimposing it on the activator himself. Because the demonic eye wielders are hiding them. One mirror against a hero with superior magic resistance is not enough. And the other thing is their abundance. There's no escape. We can only wait for complete self-destruction. A sphere of absolute sight, a special magic against the demon eye. But after seeing him turn himself into stone, Elixir said one last time, he should die as a hero. Adlay opened her eyes and saw her father, who was already a stone. She asked him if he could hear her. She went up to him and tried to touch him, screaming at her father, but then she realized that it was all her fault. And decided that she was a bad child and that's why no one loves her. Elixir saw her on her knees and knew it was the right thing to do. He wasn't worthy or entitled to sympathy, so he decided to cut it off. But still, why is it so empty inside? Elixir came to her and told her not to cry. Suddenly, a light began to seep out of her father's statue. Suddenly everything started to break down and Lieselotte said that even if he slips, the hero will never fall as long as he has the Eye of Decay. Elixir was very surprised by this Eye of Decay. It was the first time he had heard of it. Lieselotte didn't speak and attacked the guy. Elixir didn't have time to react, and only saw the attack pierce his arm to the point of blood. He fell to his knee and pondered. Lieselotte told him not to be surprised that he didn't know. After all, the demon eye must be kept secret. But consequently, those who have seen it are buried without exception. The Eye of Decay sees all manifestations of demonic eyes, and neutralizes their effects. It was through his power that he found out who killed Ceruto and Lisa. It seems that the memories of the villagers who were disposing of their bodies were affected by the demonic Eye of Oblivion. And his Eye of Disintegration cancelled the effect, and the inhabitants of the returned memory, told that the killer was the son of a couple of heroes. He wants the Eye of Decay to manifest in his child. The demon eye is inherited by blood. From his seed, one day one with an Eye of Decay will be born. For this, he did not hesitate to resort to any means. He made Adlay and the other children suffer. But the Eye of Decay is worth it. It contains the power to resist the demonic eyes of the 13th Demon Lord. It contains the power to nullify the eyes of the Demon Lord that burns everything to the ground. If he hadn't lost his right eye as a child to demons. If everything had been resolved in the last war, he would never have gone down the path of sinfulness. If it wasn't for the Demon Lord and him too. But then a girl stood in front of his attack and started defending the teacher. She told them to stop or she would die. Father, he may not understand, but this is a man she still cares about. Lieselotte said he's very glad she's safe. Isn't she injured anywhere? She's a priceless talent who will give birth to a child with an Eye of Decay. She asked that she look at the state of magic power, let her father look directly into her eyes. But then she looked up and fell to her knees. Litburn asked what was wrong. She saw that his eyes were purple in color. Litburn was angry and didn't understand what had happened. He had said that nothing would happen to this attribute. But what the devil, Adlay? He said that she was a mother who should bear him a child. But this is a vicious demonic attribute. This is the color of demons, and then he drew his sword and aimed it at her. But the elixir came and stood in front of her, protecting her life from death. Litburn didn't wait and attacked. He said the purple attribute only appears in demons. This can't be happening, it's him. He abused her. And her blood and the egg particles inside her elixir told him to run. But then Litburn launched another attack, and the boy covered the girl with his body. He wondered why he wasn't running away himself, but protecting her from her father. And he's trying to keep her safe for all she's worth. He wondered why he felt like he didn't want to lose her. Come to think of it, he was always lost. He realized that he was using others, taking lives, and in the end laughing at them. And yet, somewhere in the back of his mind, something was always nagging. Even if it was an enemy, deep inside he knew that using the family so coveted by the demon lord was akin to betraying the very love she had given him. He has no regrets, but nevertheless has thoughts of what the future could be like if he had chosen a different path. What if he had accepted his mother's warmth as her child? What if he had bonded with his father as his child, and what if the child that was to be born had not been devoured by him? He had been human for a long time, and now he had to go all the way. He couldn't make up his mind. Suddenly Litburn pierced his chest with his sword. Litburn grabbed his daughter by the hair and started strangling her. Adlay asked him why he was doing that. Litburn said that his daughter's magical power has an impure attribute that is unacceptable to humans. Adlay, he should have waited for her to give him a baby first. He should have let her live a normal life. He should have let her live a normal life. He should have let her live a normal life. Litburn apologized to Adlay for defiling her. He had only himself to blame. But then he began to smile, telling her that he would not give up trying. He would create a new child just like her. The boy began to hear Adlay's voice as she struggled to fight for her life. Hearing those sighs, the guy realized that he was about to lose again. And in a moment, he remembered the demon queen, how he couldn't help her. Without getting anywhere, the guy said enough, he doesn't want to see another scene of loss. But then he opened his eyes, and saw his reflection of his past. He wondered if he was dead, and began to cry. But then he saw the demon queen, but then he humbled himself and said that he was only fighting for the sake of the moment. But he had a desire to see her again. However, his revenge did not take place, the wish would come true even so, and then he began to shout to his inner self that he had enough of the noise, and shouted to him. All he had to do was go to the demon lord like that and his wish would come true. But why did his heart still keep pounding? And then again Adlay appears in front of his eyes, who smiles so sweetly at him. But he doesn't want that and tries to drive her away. But then he saw Adlay confessing her love to him, and with a tear, he tried to take her in his palm, but she fell into the water. And at that moment, he saw a hand that came out of the water, it was the demon queen. And by touching the monster's chest with her fingers, she brought him into the real world. But no matter what, the truth is what's inside him. But then he saw the witch push him, and he came to his senses. After melting the ice on his heart, he saw the eyes of the demon lord. He realized that he always had them with him. But then he heard her voice telling him to do as he saw fit. And then the boy grabbed his heart with his hand and said he wanted to save Adlay. And so he walked away from her and said he had to go save the girl. And he said goodbye to his lord. So his icy heart was shattered, and then he came to the real world to save his Adlay. Litburn has been strangling his daughter all this time and telling her it's nighttime and the children should be asleep by now, slowly killing her. But then he saw a bright light that was transmitted from the guy and covered his hand. He realized that it was a flame and a glint of eyes. It was the eyes of the demon lord. And then the most terrible thing started. Litburn put Adlay down and started holding his face, because he was in a lot of pain. He asked the guy why he had her eyes. Cerudo and Lisa's crystals. But there's no way it takes all 8 to resurrect a demon lord, and partially break the seal. Who is capable of such a thing, thought Litburn. And then he realized that the old hag, betrayed her own student. And then he came to his senses and started laughing loudly and said it was just black flames. Apparently he hadn't adjusted to his eyes yet. And then he held out his hand and used magic to say that this is still very good. The guy pulled out his sword, which was covered in demonic magic. Litber also pulled out his sword and said, his eyes of decay against the demon lord's eyes, today will decide who's stronger. Hearing these words, Elixir did not speak to him and attacked with his sword. Litburn said that this revenge would be settled here. But that's when they collided, and Elixir fell to his knees. Lithburn said that even the eyes of a demon lord wouldn't help him. Because the guy's at his limit. His sword imprisons a sea of death. A sea of sorrow. He is the proof of the sins that make him a villain. But there is a glimmer of hope among them, and that is called the hero's burden. And someone like him, who is guided only by personal feelings, can't bear it. Elixir raised his blade and said that he could not feel any burden. The demon lord's eyes seem to have taken control of his body. He feels nothing. No pain, no warmth, not even hatred or anger. But then Litburn got attacked by the guy and said that this shouldn't happen. Is the guy on the verge of becoming the new demon lord? The elixir said ultimate demonic power. Unleashing forbidden magic. And then the elixir began to absorb the demonic energy, transforming into a very human being. And building a shell over himself. Litburn said he wouldn't let history repeat itself, no way. And using his secret technique to break the chain of tragedy here. Elixir saw that Litburn wasn't giving up, so he used his demon palm attack. Litburn used his split in the name of the Lord. Litburn didn't expect the guy to be so strong, and seeing the guy's attack in front of him that interrupted him. He was defeated. Elixir applied his eye and said it's over, hero. But then Adlyn came and shouted at him. At that moment, he was distracted and Litburn took Adlyn hostage. Litburn said that the healing effects of the enhancement drug had worn off, and now the elixir's defeat was inevitable when it dispelled the eye effect. Litburn ordered his daughter to kill the boy. Elixir began to use his mind, giving Adlyn the message that if she complied with everything her teacher would pat her on the head. But then Elixir finally realized what this girl needed. And what he should have used. But then Adlyn started to hear his voice. The elixir told her to look at him. And he decided to show her inside. And then he used his demonic eye of resonance. And transmitted everything to Adlyn with it. He's probably the only one in the world with this eye. He can show memories to others. Neither kill people nor control them. He still couldn't understand its usefulness. Surely she had now seen all his memories. And then he shouted her name. And in a moment, everything changed, and she began to see the days she spent with her teacher. Which she treasured. He said in a thought voice that Adlyn could follow her heart. But at that moment, she abruptly turned around and pierced her father's shoulder. She pointed her sword at him and said she was sorry. Litburn said he was the one trying to save the world, and she chose this guy. Because he tricked her. Adlyn said it was because she had seen the teacher from the inside. And then she raised her sword over her father's head, trying to end it all. That's when Elixir came and stopped her. Elixir decided that he didn't need to kill him, and used his demon eye, after which, Litburn began to be covered with demonic magic. Elixir said that his name is Archive, and he is the servant of the demon lord, the last and loyal one. Also, the Doom Hero and the Bloody Avenger. And having said all these words, the demonic energy completely covered Litburn, and he screamed in such pain, because he was not ready to die like this. The energy covered him, leaving behind only the remains of his bones. And fell to the ground, the very crystal. Elixir threw that sword. And told her to let her go. She has no right to be near him. After all, he had also used her from the beginning. Just like she had replaced the demon lord for him. Adlyn said that the teacher was a substitute for her father, who didn't give her love. Such a lie, even if it was a lie, was satisfactory enough for her. But the fact that she's really taken a place in his heart. Her own heart is overflowing with happiness. Even when faced with the choice of killing her father, she still chose him. But then Elixir couldn't stand it and pulled her against him. He told her she did nothing wrong. It was him who did wrong to her. He will no longer use the demon eye on her, but use her as she is, so she can use it too. Elixir asked her to stay close to him and not let him go. And then their gazes crossed, and they stared at each other. Elixir kissed her, and she said yes. Meanwhile, in the prison tower of confinement, which was located in the center of the sea, the chains holding the hostage slowly began to break. And finally they were all broken. The hostage fell to his knees, and seeing that he was free, he decided to escape. It was one of the 8, the demon eater Enigma. A month after the murder of one of the 8, Fugel lit burn. The girl on the horse was in a hurry to get somewhere, for after defeating her father, the teacher suffered from a high fever. But she tried to cure him with her own. But all efforts were in vain, because nothing helped. His temperature was too high, and did not let magic into his body. But then she decided to use a different method, so she got naked. And decided to use the magic of freezing. When she touched the elixir, she wondered if it would work. She decided to freeze herself and chill the teacher that way. Touching him, she asked him to wake up. But the next morning, Adlay felt a hand on her head. And woke up screaming. What happened? It was Elixir stroking her. He asked her if she was awake. Adlay looked at him for a long time and was surprised. She couldn't help but cry. Elixir asked her what was wrong. And why such tears? Adlay was very angry and frightened. She called the teacher stupid, hitting him on the chest. She asked him, screaming, if he knew how many days he had been unconscious. Did he know how much she was worried? Elixir hugged her and apologized, saying he had to rely on her again. Adlay wiped a tear from her eye and said, "There's nothing wrong with that, he can rely on it at any time." Elixir sat there thinking that he shouldn't use the demon lord's eyes. After all, the strain on him comes from them. Adlay said it's harder than he thinks. If he keeps using, his life will eventually disappear. Elixir said that with the exception of his eyes, his powers could defeat the heroes. But then Adlay began to boil and changed her face. Elixir asked her why she was angry. Adlay said that the teacher told her to be there for him. But how can she do that if he dies? Elixir took her by the tip of her hair and asked, "Is she sure about this? Staying with him means becoming an enemy to the world. Does she realize that?" Adlay was shocked and asked, "Is it bad?" Elixir said it's not good at all and that she should think about her future and the rest. Adlay laughed out loud when she heard about the future. She said that even though Elixir is a teacher, she talks like a teacher. Adlay told him she wasn't as good a person as he thought. She only wanted to be a hero to please her father, and now he's dead at her hands. The elixir touched her and said she didn't kill him, he did. Adlay said that she and the teacher did it together. So now they're accomplices. Adlay said that she is already an enemy of the world. She has decided to become an enemy of the world. She can use it too, because the teacher said so. "So, please don't go," said Adlay with tears in her eyes. After all, she felt love by his side. Elixir said he would do as she asked. She's a valuable resource after all, he spent time on her and can't die until he gets the benefit. Adlay got more angry when she heard that. Elixir apologized to her for the suddenness, but he had a favor to ask of her. With the start of winter vacation, let her see if they have information on the 8 heroes at home. He can't go with her, it's better not to arouse suspicion. She can manage on her own, can't she? And then she thought she told the teacher to wait for her, she'll be back soon. At the same time, Elixir said, the Academy has 0 useful information. Fugel's disappearance hasn't been publicized yet. It's worth using this time to find out the location of the other heroes. But as he was walking he hit someone, and the guy fell. Elixir apologized and asked if they were hurt. It was a girl who was bleeding and injured. Elixir asked her if she was hurt. He knew he should stay out of trouble, but he couldn't pass it up. The girl started screaming in pain. Elixir approached her and told her not to worry, because he has a little healing magic. But then she could tell that there was a man on top. Elixir didn't understand at first, but then he looked up and saw the assassin standing there with a spear. The guy told Elixir to go away and stay out of it. After all, he's not interested in simpletons. But then Elixir saw and couldn't believe that it was one of the 8 heroes he was looking to kill. He remembered this guy saying the day the demon queen died, that it was time to start dismembering. When he cut off the queen's arm, he said that her regeneration immediately grows a new arm. That's not enough. Then we must continue. At this time, Archive was watching from the side and heard this guy telling the demon lord to get her ass ready, because he's coming again. This guy was bloodthirsty and started eating the lord's hand, saying it was delicious. He could eat as much as he wanted. Endless meat, immortal meat. It was meat that made my blood boil. And that's when he noticed Archive hiding behind the wall. He asked him if he should eat him too. Elixir realized that it was one of the 8 demon eaters, Enigma. The guy told Elixir that if he didn't want him to eat him, he should leave. Elixir thought it wasn't enough that 8 heroes appeared one after another. Now he's among them. His wounds from last month's battle have not yet healed. He should retreat and consider his next steps. But then he decided that he would not retreat, even if he is not his equal in strength, but he has the eyes of a demon lord. As he used them, he remembered how Adlay had asked him not to leave. And he couldn't do anything against it. When he opened his eyes, he saw that Enigma had disappeared. And in a moment he saw him in front of him, and he was frightened. Enigma said, whether it's a reaction to the lust for killing and the opposing will or just plain recklessness, such bravery is desirable. Emotions give meat its flavor. Beat it, crush it, grind it, and then you've got something edible. But then Elixir decided to seize the moment and use the demon eye, Petrification. Enigma was surprised at this turn of events. Elixir decided not to stop and used illusion and captivity. But he didn't understand why the hell it wasn't working. The distance was almost 0. Enigma said he thought the guy was just a man, but it turns out he's a demon. But he said they're not too different from each other. He's an Enigma, a demon eater. As his nickname suggests, he's a hero who eats demons and steals their power. When Elixir saw Enigma attacking him, he used his eye of clairvoyance. He pulled his blade out of the portal. And then they clashed. Enigma dodged the attack and Elixir realized that he could counter it, because his movements were faster. Elixir felt his heart was in anticipation. This was how the demon lord's eyes reacted to one of the 8. But then Elixir managed to deliver his attack and wounded the enemy. Enigma licked the blood from his face and said that it looked like he would have food. For the first time in 14 years, the Elixir can entertain him. After all that time he's been imprisoned. Elixir used the demon's eye seal and wondered if it was possible for him to win in close combat. But then he decided to blind Enigma and give him time to take the girl and run away. He realized that even if their forces were equal, it would be disadvantageous for him to fight now. It was better for him to escape. After hiding in a secluded place, he still had to find out why he was targeting this girl. He had to get information from her. While running along the rooftops, Elixir noticed that Enigma had found him and was chasing him. But he took the attack and started dodging them. Enigma said the guy was very clever, so he decided to use his soul-searching magic. Elixir saw the dark magic, and realized that only demons could control it. And now things are bad, because this magic will track him forever, until the caster dies. There's no point now, even if he escapes from it. Elixir asked him that he stopped casting magic. He decided not to bother chasing. Enigma says it's not. His cursed spear pierces through. So he decided to attack the boy and put him in the fight. Elixir knew it was impossible, he couldn't dodge death. And he apologized to Adlay. But then the gate opened in front of him. He was surprised and realized that it was a witch who helped him escape from death. Enigma saw that portal and realized whose portal it was. Because the guy escaped into her quasi-labyrinth. And not even a soul search could track him down. And in the meantime, to satisfy his hunger, he will have to ordinary demons. Need to return to form this decrepit body. And in front of the girl's psyche biblioman to wait for him, he is sure to return and kill her. After going through the portal with the girl, he landed and realized that they had escaped. They were sucked into a quasi-labyrinth. Even if it's small and on the verge of destruction, a witch must be of high rank to be able to handle even that. And now he needs to get information out of her all the more. His death is at stake. Elixir told her she saved him. The girl said it was more like they saved each other. Elixir told her they would talk more when they were safe. He could give her first aid, but proper medical care. The girl grabbed him by his clothes and tried to tell him that she had to go to the academy and passed out. Elixir told her not to worry. After all, that place is preferable for him too. The girl opened her eyes and stood up screaming. Elixir stopped her and told her it was okay. No sudden movements or the wound would open. He warned her that it wasn't him who undressed her. The girl was powerless and asked where she was. Elixir said as she asked, he took her to the Royal Hero Academy. His name is Elixir Alexiel, he works here as a teacher. The girl was hesitant to say her name, but Elixir said that her name was Psyche Bibliomaniac. It's the principal, adopted child and her student. The secretary gave her the details. Elixir looked at her angrily and said, if she is the successor of the Great Witch, then it's clear where the Quasi-Labyrinth came from. Psyche thanked him for saving her, but she said she wasn't going to tell him anything. Elixir said that this wouldn't work, if he didn't get a detailed explanation, there would be big trouble. After all, she was targeted by a hero. And this is a hero academy. So she should think twice. Psyche sighed and said that she had been assigned to watch Enigma, a prisoner in the prison tower of confinement. Elixir asked, but why one of the 8? Psyche said that Enigma is recognized as a hero, but in reality he is a big criminal who ate many people in the war. Eaten not by demons, but by humans. She doesn't know the details, but the 8 heroes have decided to hide this fact, limiting his freedom by imprisoning him. And the principal, that old hag, instructed her, as her student, to keep a close eye on him. Elixir asked how he escaped. Psyche asked him, he saw her unfinished Quasi-Labyrinth, right? It's impossible for her to defeat him in such a place. Enigma is a dark knight who once managed to crush the great hero Fugel. What to speak of her, a simple witch. She had only been able to keep him imprisoned for so long due to the restriction of Fugel Litburn's magic, but last month the restriction was lifted. Elixir said if the restriction is lifted, it means Mr. Fugel. Psyche said yes, he's probably dead. Elixir realized that Flugel's death could not be hidden forever, but removing the restriction from Enigma worked as an additional signal that he was dead. It's probably safe to assume that the other 8 heroes are already aware of his demise. We need to get rid of one by one before they unite. But he also realized that this girl could also be used in different ways. Elixir said that if one of the 8 died, he, as the teacher of the Hero Academy, should report it. The girl grabbed him and told him not to do it. And then she stood up and her wound opened. Elixir told her that's why he told her not to move. But then Adlay ran in and shouted to the teacher. She said she came back and saw the teacher and the girl hugging. Elixir turned around and said that Adlay had already arrived. Adlay didn't understand what was going on and asked what was going on. She went up to Elixir and said she could hear an explanation from him. Elixir asked her what she was talking about. If it was about Psycho, he was telling her. Adlay said that's not what she meant, why were they standing so close together and hugging? Elixir told her not to force her to explain such nonsense. In return, you'd better tell me what you found out. Adlay got angry and said it wasn't nonsense. Maybe to him, but to her, Elixir kissed her sharply and calmed her down. And threw her on the bed. Adlay asked him why all of a sudden. Elixir said it's been a long time, hasn't it? Adlay said yes, just right now. Elixir asked her if she had not satisfied herself as promised. Adlay said yes, she held out to the end. But now she wants to hear the answer first of all. Elixir said they have a problem then. Because he wants her so badly now. Adlay told him it's very sneaky to say that. Adlay said the teacher wanted it first, it's never happened before. Did something happen to him? But then he saw Enigma and stopped. Adlay took advantage of that moment and flipped him over. Adlay said that at least she was happy to be used by the teacher. So, let her do it all by herself today. Elixir wondered what she was up to. What's gotten into her all of a sudden? He saw that Adlay's magic was getting stronger every day. The crimson attribute is unique to demons, but there is still much they do not know. It is so rare that only one person has possessed it in the past. The female mage who is rumored to have raised the first demon lord, mighty Babylon. Adlay said that the teacher is not so depressed now, and the ability inside that girl, he can't fathom it either. Adlay said that unfortunately her father's house was burned down and completely destroyed, and no information was left there. She apologized for not being able to help the teacher. Elixir said he just needs confirmation. Let him worry about another hero, now he has to think about the immediate problem. The demon eye didn't work on this hero. Apparently, among the demons he ate, some were immune to it. Plus, Elixir said, he rushed, used his eye thoughtlessly. Adlay hugged him and said she would protect him. Elixir told her not to worry, because he's not after him in the first place. And he's got the bait, he'll be prepared for it. Adlay asked what kind of bait? Or is he talking about that girl? Elixir said, though he's a willful type, these are surprisingly easy. Adlay didn't let him go the whole time. Elixir asked her why she was doing that, and then she clung to him and hugged him tightly. He pulled away from her and asked her what she was doing. Adlay didn't understand how it happened and apologized. Adlay told him not to think she was jealous, just surprised when he hugged her naked. Adlay said that she and the teacher are not in a romantic relationship after all. And she's not possessive, I mean, it's nothing like that. Elixir said he doesn't mind, and he doesn't want to order her heart. It's up to her to be jealous or possessive. Especially since he's a bit possessive himself. Adlay was surprised by these words and said that the teacher was very nice today. Elixir got angry and told her to get dressed quickly and go out. Elixir met the witch and told her she should stay at the academy. Psyche didn't understand and asked him again. She got the same answer. Elixir said it was to protect her from Enigma. Psyche said she didn't ask for it and she doesn't have to listen, okay? Elixir said that she didn't have to, but she was the principal apprentice, and he owed her a great debt. Psyche questioned the teacher, is he really in debt to that hag? Doesn't she demand his life in return, she asked. Elixir smiled and said no, it was nothing. And then he anticipated the expected reaction. Elixir said he hasn't informed the academy about Enigma yet. She doesn't want the principal to find out about how she failed and let him escape, does she? Psyche said she didn't really want to, just. Elixir interrupted her and said she was running to the academy for help anyway. She's torn between pride and duty. Is he right? Elixir asked. Psyche said she's getting really pissed off with the way he's talking. Elixir said he'd speak up then. How about teaming up with him to defeat Enigma together? Psyche was surprised to hear such an offer. Elixir said that if they won and sealed it again, her mistakes would be a thing of the past. She would only benefit. Elixir said that he himself, as he mentioned, owed the principal a debt, so he would also benefit if she told her about his help. Elixir held out his hand and asked her choice, because he actually offered a pretty good option, didn't he? Psyche had been laughing for a long time, but suddenly she started laughing loudly. Elixir said that he didn't say anything that could make her laugh. Psyche wiped away her tears of laughter and said the guy was hilarious. There's no way she's actually going to win. She highly doubts that a man of his level has anything to oppose Enigma, even though he helped her. She said she wouldn't stoop so low as to involve mediocre outsiders. Elixir said he understood, and if so, let him prove his power to her in battle. He held out his cane and told her to fight him in a one-on-one battle. And so they arrived at the academy arena. Psyche was surprised and said that she had read about it in a book once. But the arena is still impressive, don't you think? Elixir asked her if she came to admire him. And she's acting relaxed. Psyche said she should. The elixir isn't very strong, is it? Elixir pulled out his blade and said she was underestimating him. Psyche said she wasn't trying to look down on him. She said that she sees not only a person's ability, but also a person's effort. Elixir the hard worker, made his mediocre talent outstanding, but nothing more. It's not enough against Enigma. Elixir said to make her think she's still a child, but her eyes are already astute. Elixir threw 2 antidotes and asked, can she see experience and determination too? Psyche laughed and said that judging by the arrogance Elixir is angry, but she loves it. But it's so boyish. She asked Elixir if he had ever fought in the air. Elixir threw all his sword power into the air to bring the witch down and fight on the ground. Psyche said that the Son weapon is a basic technique using alchemy. But it's just an ordinary sword, right? But when she picked it up, she realized that the sword was made of mercury. Not bad, he should have become a blacksmith. Elixir told her that he doesn't advise grabbing magical objects mindlessly. But then there was an explosion, and Elixir said that the sword was made of mercury. Mercury exhibits different properties in an alloy. If crystallized, it becomes more explosive. Elixir told her not to underestimate alchemy. That'll teach her a lesson, little girl. But suddenly there was laughter from the smoke, and Psyche told him not to get carried away with explosions of such power. And in fact, the ends of her hair were burned. Elixir told her she thought he'd use his full power against a recently injured little girl. She should thank him for suppressing her to a mere burn. Psyche got mad and said she was sick of the elixir. And now she's going to eliminate him with a real bombing. But then Elixir told her to stop, because higher magic is forbidden in a duel. But she didn't stop and used her stardust. Elixir shouted at her that this spell was a deal-breaker. She'd kill him. And then Elixir started running away from her loud attack. Psyche laughed when she saw it and said, "That's what it looks like from the outside. Let him crawl on the ground like never before." She told him not to be afraid, because she lowered the killing power. But then she saw the silver plates and thought, what's the guy up to now? As she watched, she saw that there was no sign of attack. If they were reflecting magic, then the coefficient is that the plates were just a support. And then she saw Elixir in front of her. And used the magic of deflection. But then she saw that it was a clone. She tried to attack the clone and knew that the clone consumed a lot of magic power, but the speed of the newly created clone was only a third of the original. Even if a wizard like him created it, it would disappear immediately. That's why he prefers mercury dupes. Especially, his magic and mobility are now much higher than before. Just the perfect opportunity to test the speed limit. Psyche said the guy was already pissing him off. But then she saw that the original guy was there and he was standing downstairs. And attacked him. But then she saw that the original had disappeared. And looking underneath her, she saw Elixir already attacking. He used the elixir and defeated her. But he was sorry she didn't crash. He caught her. She opened her eyes and Elixir asked her if she was okay. Psyche got to her feet and said that the guy didn't intend to attack her for real anyway. That's what they both did, unleashing their ultimate magic at full power. It would have killed him much sooner. The spectacle alone is impressive. Psyche said, of course she is, she's the apprentice of a great witch. Elixir told her not to be conceited, it wasn't a compliment. Psyche asked the guy, so he used clairvoyance. Elixir said that his parents are heroes, so the load is not bad. Psyche said she has a vague description, but if it's true, for her, as a weak in close combat, it's perfect. She apologized for her rudeness and said that now she would like to ask for help with Enigma. They shook hands and Psyche kissed him. Elixir stepped away from her and asked what she was doing. Psyche said that he was being nice, because Elixir is so cute when he's worried. But at that moment, Adlay was watching the battle and shouted to the teacher when she saw the kiss. When Elixir arrived at the academy, he told the girl that he had talked to the secretary and she could stay at the academy. But for the duration of her stay, she'll have to study here as a regular student. She may not be happy with that as a gifted witch, but still. Psyche said she was in favor, and had always wanted to wear the academy uniform as a student. Elixir was very surprised by her choice and words. But then she tried on the uniform and was jumping with happiness. At this point, Adlay ran up and shouted to the teacher. Elixir remembered and said that he hadn't introduced them properly. Adlay, this is a girl. But then Psyche hugged his arm and pressed herself against him. Adlay was furious and ready to kill her on the spot for touching someone else's things. Psyche thanked him for the day and said she was glad to meet him. So what's her name? Elixir said. Adlay smiled and said she was Litburn's daughter. And yes, she's happy to meet you too. Elixir felt a hint of trouble coming. And enjoy the first day, the second class after vacation. Elixir said, Those who understand the problem in the composition of this potion, let them raise their hands. Psyche smiled and said that the potion wasn't treated with mandrake, right? She asked. Elixir asked, what exactly would happen if it wasn't processed? Psyche said that it would retain its poisonousness even when crushed. The cure potion, instead of healing, will lead to insanity and death. The elixir said right, as expected from a special student. In the third lesson, practicing potion making. Adlay and Psyche were on the same team, and the witch used her transformation powers. Adlay tried all the time, but she failed. In the fourth class, we practiced attack magic. But here too, she crossed Adlay's path and showed her strength. The guys caught her in the hallway and asked Psyche if she was related to their principal, because they have the same last name. Psyche said she was adopted, before she was an orphan. But then she told them not to make such faces. Whatever the family is, this academy looks at ability, right? And she wants to prove that hero status isn't just determined by ancestry. Guys know guys like that, she asked. Guys who only have perfect pedigree and no skills. She came here because she can't stand them. But then she saw Elixir and ran to show him her grades. She said she got an A on yesterday's written exam. Elixir said, so what, she got the best grade. She hugged him and said it was okay to praise her. The guys started a rumor that the girl and the teacher seem pretty close. Maybe even dating. But then Adlay heard it and started running away. Elixir saw her and told her not to leave. Psyche told Elixir that they should go to lunch together. The guy couldn't take it anymore and sighed. And then they went outside, and Psyche asked, what do you mean, don't provoke? And who? Elixir grabbed the sandwich out of her hands and said he was talking about Adlay. She doesn't know anything about her yet, but she's lost her own father. He asked Psyche, what was the point of her provoking her? Elixir realized that he in turn knew nothing about this girl, only that she was the principal apprentice. To find out more, he asked Adlay to befriend her. But with such fakes, there's no result. Elixir asked her if she disliked Adlay for any particular reason. Psyche thought long and hard about the answer. She said it's nothing like that, she just talked to her so excitedly that she couldn't help herself. Elixir said that the girl's character is a fairy tale. Psyche asked if the teacher was telling the truth, but she was still pleased. Elixir grabbed his sandwiches and told her it was sarcasm, not a compliment, and called her stupid. And he told her not to eat without permission. Elixir told her he's not forcing her to be friends, but at least let her show respect. If she promises, he'll share food with her. Psyche took the food and said she'd try to get along with her, but she'd do it her way. A deal? Elixir brought them to the arena and told them that this class would emphasize the practical application of alchemy. He believes that the guys already understand themselves, but he reminds them that alchemy can be used in battle. Today they use their knowledge during real battles. Nothing but alchemy can be used. Psyche loudly told everyone that she's a master at this kind of fighting. Elixir said that she'd have Adlay as her opponent. Psyche also said she's choosing her. As the hero's daughter, she's perfect for her. She agrees, right? Adlay remembered how she kissed the teacher and got angry. Elixir asked who gave her the right to choose for herself. Adlay was furious and said she'd fight her. And would love to see Psyche's abilities. Elixir saw them being very aggressive at each other and asked what was going on with them. He told the girls that weapons are forbidden, only one material can be used. Let them only transform and process with basic tools. The most important thing in this battle is to use alchemy. Can they hear him? Elixir asked. Psyche asked, Elixir, Adlay gives individual lessons, right? So she's good at alchemy? Adlay said that she doesn't see it as a reason to brag, but she wants to believe that the level is sufficient. Adlay said it was enough, that's all. She's a modest person, but Psyche is always so confident. Psyche said, that's what Adlay doesn't like about her. Adlay said, what about her? What does she think of her? Psyche said she didn't like Adlay. In a word, she didn't like her. So she used transmutation magic and created a golem. Elixir saw that Psyche had created a golem out of rocks and lava. Adlay had also used transformation and created an artificial spirit. Elixir watched and saw that Adlay had created an artificial spirit, but then he had doubts. Psyche said that the artificial spirit didn't surprise her. Does she think that this pathetic parody is able to stop her golem? Adlay surrounded the golem and said that in order to find out, she must at least try. Psyche said that if she touched the lava golem, the water would simply vaporize. But then the water took complete control of the golem. Psycho said that such viscosity is slime. Adlay said she was fooled by its appearance. It's frosty slime with chemicals used in firefighting. Freezing it all like that will turn her golem into a mere pile of rocks. Psyche said her slime will blast it with firepower. The source of the golem's heat is in its core. So there's no point in cooling it from the outside, said Psyche. But then the flames grew into something bigger, and started coming at Adlay. She didn't understand what the flames were and why they were only burning clothes. Psyche told her not to worry. She just wants to expose her to the world. Let her get ready to flaunt her milking breasts in front of the guys. But then she started to feel cold, and the slime slowly managed to get under her body. And started to take over her completely. She asked why it was crawling to her breasts and between her legs. Psyche asked her where she had dared to touch her. Adlay said that the attempt to restrain the golem was a distraction. She was originally aiming at the caster. Adlay asked her how she felt about her slime. Does it feel cool and satisfying? Psyche said that Adlay is a slime freak. She's probably having fun with her every day. Adlay said there's nothing like that, is she clear? Psyche said she hit the bullseye. She was only joking, but her reaction gave her away. Adlay said she wasn't using it and to stop talking about it. Elixir saw that all the alchemy reactions were going down the drain. But then Psyche got angry and said she didn't care about releasing them multiple times. She used killing rays. Adlay said if she wanted to play by her rules. And she used a release intercept and a purification sphere. Adlay yelled at them to calm down. But things got out of control and they started fighting live. Elixir said that the riot of rays and the matter of light of the principle, the power of the disciples' performance was almost the same. And Adlay uses the Holy One, effective against darkness, but inferior when confronted with light. And then she made a weapon out of the slime. She used her leg enhancement, and attacked using acceleration. Psyche asked her, did she choose chain magic specifically so that she would be supported? But the vector of motion is purely straight. If so, Psyche used focus transformation. A burst of light. Psyche channeled her attack and told Adlay to run away with her tail between her legs. After all, this time it wouldn't just burn her clothes. Adlay managed to deliver her attack even if Psyche wasn't so sure about it. Psyche fell to the ground and said that she lost. Adlay said no, she missed on purpose, didn't she? So she lost and reached out. Psyche also gave her hand and said they'd settle for a draw. Elkisir said the girls were trying to turn things into a good ending, but got a penalty class. A few days after the girls' duel, Adlay was on her way to the garden and said that today she was having arugula sandwiches. The teacher likes vegetables, she hoped he would like them. Psyche slowly followed her and grabbed her, saying she had big melons. Adlay only said she was in pain. Adlay asked her what she was doing. Psyche said it's okay, they're not shrinking. They're friends, right? Adlay said he didn't remember any of his friends ever touching her breasts like that. Psyche said she's so big, come on, she's just a little bit. Adlay asked her what she wanted. Psyche offered to take her to lunch. Adlay said she was already booked. She's popular here. So what's the problem with asking someone else? Psyche said it's because she likes the place with Adlay. The girl said she just had her eye on her sandwich, right? Adlay said that from the look on Psyche's face, she was going to eat the ones made for the teacher. Elixir was watching them and said that after that duel, the two of them had become very close. Now Adlay can probably get information from Psyche. But Adlay told the teacher that she has no idea how much distance there is between her and that girl. Elixir asked, they seem to get along well, don't they? Adlay said they have a good relationship, but there's a lot of physical contact, I mean, she touches her butt and breasts a lot. Elixir said maybe that's her sexual preference. Adlay said that she was always hanging around him, did the teacher forget? Elixir said it was only at first. Another day, when they were together, he was walking towards them, she gave him an angry look. Looks like all those antics were to get her attention. Convenient, isn't Adlay? And now he's trying to seduce her. Adlay said the teacher said he was possessive. Elixir said he was joking. Only she doesn't get too attached to Psyche. He'll use her as bait. Like he did with her. Adlay said she understands. Don't let the teacher worry. Elixir said he would be leaving the academy for a day tomorrow, so have her look after Psyche while he was gone. Adlay asked him, is he going to go to Enigma? Elixir said that just to confirm his location because he accidentally showed him the demon eye. He's unlikely to team up with other heroes, but it wouldn't hurt to be able to track him. Adlay said she was with him since she was a teacher that night. Elixir said he was traumatized and scared that night too. That's why he's going alone. Because if he can't overcome his fear, he can't beat it. He told Adlay not to worry, he will definitely come back. Adlay said that she understands, so today let him love her as much as ever. The next day, Adlay sat quietly on a bench drinking her tea. Psyche asked her what was wrong. Adlay said it's no big deal. Today she can eat as much as she wants. Psyche asked her if she was lonely. Adlay saw her gesture and said, no, she's not lonely. But then Psyche approached her and said, doesn't she like the elixir? Adlay said she just decided to ask now. Psyche said she figured it out. Psyche said she's a complete stranger to this kind of thing. She has almost no experience in interacting with others. She's never even interacted with guys her own age. Adlay asked her if she was a student of the principal. She adopted her? Psyche said yes, but she never treated her like a parent. She just raised her as a successor. The witch only wants her as a convenient pawn for her own gain. Adlay said she knows the feeling very well. Psyche said she's more interested in finding out how far her relationship with Elixir has progressed. Adlay asked her what she was thinking. Psyche said, I mean, she can have the elixir for herself? Adlay said she can't. Psyche said she has a good chance, he's a pervert, and if you push him. Adlay said they're making a lot of progress. Like a real romantic relationship, okay? Adlay finally dared to say that Elixir was a cold person, but his touch was so gentle. Psyche saw that Adlay fell for it. And Elixir is a bastard for sticking his filthy hands on a student. Adlay said she wouldn't tolerate bad words against a teacher. Psyche said she understood and it seems like it's not her destiny to get involved. Adlay told her if she was going to take her teacher away from her, she would hold on to him with all her might. But the teacher doesn't love her yet. His heart still belongs to someone else. Psyche said the teacher is worse. He's just messing with her. Adlay said the teacher isn't that kind of person anymore, and she decided to do everything she could to make sure that one day he would only look at her and no one else. Psyche put her hand on Adlay's head and said she could only wish her luck. Adlay said that Psyche considers Elixir nothing more than a friend. But don't treat her like a child. Well, she's the big sister. But Elixir managed to find the cave and said he had no doubt that Enigma was here. And then Elixir undertook cloaking magic, combined with zero presence, and slowly entered the cave. The elixir said that the Dark Knight gains great power with the curse. And Enigma is apparently cursed with the ability to satisfy his hunger with only humanoid flesh. Psyche told him that he ate people, too. And he remembered how he said he wasn't interested in simpletons. Judging by his words and actions, he still has enough sense not to attack people. Then his only source of sustenance is demons. They inhabit the neighborhood, and besides this cave, Elixir turned on his night vision, because the cave was very dark. And immediately he saw a skull in front of him. He kept telling himself to keep his cool and not make a sound. He only came to confirm the location. He asked himself what he was afraid of and called himself the archive. He needs to move. Suppress his fear with a desire for revenge. He remembered every moment of his life and what he'd been through. And finally, around the corner, he found the villain. Elixir felt that he could hear faint breathing. Is he asleep? But then he was ready to kill him by withdrawing his blade. But in a moment he told himself to calm down. He wasn't sure that in his current state he could kill with one precise move. But before you go, since Enigma is asleep, it can even be used. and used his demon eye incubus. Flying through the air, he thought it would be great to discreetly extract information from his memories. But in the moment, he saw two people standing at the altar. And he saw that the thing on that table was very familiar. Is that Enigma's spear? The guardian clenched his fist and said that by accepting the cursed artifact, he too would become a dark knight. This spear, which has chosen him as its master, is under the curse of the hungry wolf. Once he takes it, he will no longer be able to feed on anything but humanoid life forms and will bear the burden. Enigma told the master that humanoid demons were spreading all over the world, right? He said he'd eat every last one of them and show them what peace could bring. The master told him to live with the curse and die with it. And now the elixir has come to another memory. People mocked him and told Enigma to stay away or he would be cursed. But then the guy hugged Enigma and told him to take it easy. He's their friend, so he can walk proudly. The girl also told him not to worry. His curse, they carry together. The guy said let them figure out how to make a goblin taste good. Demons taste like crap. The girl said, how about a marinade? Elixir wondered why his friends' faces were plastered over. He doesn't remember them, or he's trying to forget them on purpose. And then the scene changed again. Elixir found himself in the battlefield. But at that moment he heard Enigma holding the girl in his arms and asking her to wake up. Enigma asked her not to leave him. The girl told him to take her with him. Enigma said he would never leave her. After all, he had promised her that he would always be there for her. The girl told the guy to pet her goodbye. He asked her what she was saying. The girl told him to eat it and convert it into power, then he could definitely survive. And then she stroked him and asked him to do it. The girl told the guy to let her exist in him forever. The guy smiled and said he would. And after saying goodbye, she died. Enigma took the body to the cave and began to feed on it. When he ate her whole, he was in a lot of pain. He said that these people were more important to him than anything else in the world, and he couldn't save them and why things turned out the way they did. And why is it so amazingly delicious, said Enigma. And at that moment he began to turn into a monster. And then he turned into a wolf with a cane in his teeth. Elixir saw it and couldn't figure out what he was. He's really going to fight something like that. Things are really bad. But then he realized that the wolf had noticed him. But then he heard someone say that it was the Dark Knight's cursed appearance. How terrifying. But then he saw Fugel standing behind him. But then Elixir calmed down and realized that it was just a dream of the past. And now he understood why Fugel had come here. Even if it's customary to get rid of those who have succumbed to the curse, it's still unfortunate to kill such chaos. Lieselotte told Viper it was time for him to show his hero power. Then Elixir realized that one of the 8 heroes was Viper, so he decided to gather information about his powers. So Viper started using his powers and attacked with Azura's eye. Elixir saw that Viper also possesses a demon eye. The curse of Enigma has been broken. This is the result of magic. It's worth considering that his demon eye dispels magic. Viper told Enigma that it's useless to do so, because he can't hide from his eye. Enigma didn't know what to do. Viper said the curse of the hungry wolf spear. He read about it in a book. Viper thinks Enigma gave in to him and ended up eating the man. But then he picked up his hair and said it was even better. From now on, Enigma is his pet, and as a faithful dog, he does his dirty work for him. Their enemies are not only demons, but also humans that they do not want. Don't let him worry, said the Viper, from now on he's allowed to eat both. Let him rejoice. Now he's a hero too. But suddenly everything went dark and Elixir realized that things were bad. It meant the incubus was cancelled. When he opened his eyes he saw Enigma holding him by the throat. Enigma said it's bad taste to approach a sleeping demon. Elixir said he's not a demon. Elixir said he was part of Fugel's demon eye transplant experiment. A success. Enigma asked if he was that Psycho's subordinate. Then I can see why he was protecting Psyche. And then he let him go. Elixir realized that now he had bought himself time. But why shouldn't he eat it if he thought he was human? Cannibalism clearly disgusts him, he has no doubt about that. Thanks to dreams it became clear that he is also human. Now it is not as frightening as before. Elixir asked him, why is he targeting Psyche? And what is his goal? Enigma looked at him strangely and asked, is this a dialogue? He said Elixir is either improvising on the fly or he doesn't know fear. Elixir said she's just a kid, and he wants to know why he, the hero, would go after her. Enigma said she was a witch who stole his memories, not a child. So Elixir realized why the faces were washed away. Elixir asked why Psyche had done that to him, but Enigma couldn't stand it and grabbed him by the throat again. Elixir told him to calm down. And if that's the case, he'll talk to her. Enigma said he didn't care and told the guy to tell me if he's human. He looks and smells human, but there's something wrong with him. Let's test him. Elixir asked him, does he really eat people like they say? He heard that the Dark Knight is immune to the curse. Enigma said it right, he'll never eat a human again. But his eye, you bastard, he got a demon transplant, didn't he? Does the guy know which part of their body is the most delicious is the eye? Poke it out, roll it around on your tongue for a long time, and then crush it with your teeth. The sound is so seductive. And he's curious to know what sound his eye will make. But at that moment, the elixir on Enigma's hands evaporated. And he realized that the guy had sent his clone here from the beginning. Enigma said that the guy didn't even have the guts to fight him, and loudly shouted at the top of his voice that the guy was a coward. Enigma says he'll definitely come at him in the open and kill him. He can get ready to run for his life. But at that moment, Elixir heard everything and came out of print saying that it's okay to be a coward, you sick scum. He made sure he was able to use the eye through the clone, that's enough, now we can retreat. But suddenly he felt sick and said that if the quality of the clone is too high, some of the damage is transferred to him. It was bad and Elixir's eyes started to bleed. He said the name Viper and finally realized he had information on him. The one of the 8 heroes who figured out how to seal the Demon Lord. He remembered it was Viper. Saruto asked Viper if he wanted to join them. Viper said that wicked deeds are their lot. Saruto sighed and said, you're one to talk. His method of sealing and disrupting the peace talks aren't exactly befitting a hero either. Viper said what's the point of a year-long truce if even after she's killed, she'll be resurrected in 180 years. But by sealing it completely, an almost unbreakable peace will be achieved. That's what will confirm their status as heroes. But did you have to make such a scene? Saruto asked. Viper said that the poison used on her not only blocks generation, but also breaks the spirit. The severed limbs will not grow back to allow the sealing to take place. Her heart is as fragile as a human's, and the best way to break it is through betrayal and humiliation. Saruto said he tried his best to win, but he's no match for him. Viper said he risked his life to weaken her. Now let Saruto go and break it too. Elixir realized that right now the priority is to kill Enigma. But next in line is the Viper. Elixir went into his room and was surprised to see Psyche naked after her shower. She said welcome back teacher. She asked him how the intelligence was. Elixir asked what she was doing. Psyche said she was meeting him as his wife, so let him rejoice. Elixir asked her why she was naked. Psyche said she was just taking a shower. Elixir apologized and said he was tired and would tell her tomorrow, but for now, let her get out of here. Psyche pushed him onto the couch and climbed on top of him. Elixir asked her what she was up to. Psyche said her sister is using a special healing on him. She's a student of that witch, after all, and she knows what she's talking about. She wondered where she should start. Her breasts may be inferior to Adlin's, but they're comfortable to fondle. Psyche said if it's his first time, she's kidding. And then she decided to warm him up with her mouth. She said that she could do a lot of embarrassing things that Adlin doesn't know about. But then Elixir pushed her and stopped her. Elixir told her to stop. He only sleeps with women out of necessity. Psyche said she was just fooling around. Elixir said there's only one she can't lose. And she's the only one he wants to make love to. Elixir said he wouldn't have tolerated her cutting him with what she was hiding. Psyche was very surprised and didn't understand how he knew that. She pulled out the scissors and said she had been exposed. Psyche said that she had planned to kick him if he attacked her, but his sincere response surprised her, and not by a long shot. Although if he noticed the scissors in the first place, he could have just lied. Psyche said he could have been a little scared. And it's no fun at all. Elixir asked what she was trying to accomplish with this. Psyche said she thought he might just be having fun with Adlay. Elixir asked her how much she had told her. Psyche said that she had confessed that their relationship had already reached physical contact. Elixir said, so now Psyche is trying to protect her from him? Psyche said yes, they're kind of friends. Elixir said she shouldn't talk about friendship after what she tried to do to him. Psyche said she was a witch after all, it's okay if she tasted a little. Elixir asked what she was talking about. Psyche said she was just checking to see if he was a match for Adlay. Elixir said she only met her recently. Psyche said that time doesn't matter. Psyche said it was important that Adlay was her first friend. Elixir said he and Enigma had a conversation. It seems Psyche took away his memories. Psyche jumped up and said that Elixir said he was just going on a reconnaissance mission. Elixir said that he'd been infiltrated into his subconscious by a clone. It allowed him to talk to her without fear of being killed. And now he'd like to know why she did it. Psyche said she'd already told him if he remembered. How he ate people during the Great War. After the war, in order to suppress his rage and restore his sanity, they had to take away his memories. It's one of the witch's secret techniques, the memory vial. It contains his memories from the first time he ate a human, and he took the other when they fought in the Tower of Confinement. In Enigma's dream, his curse was to be controlled by Viper with his Azura eye. If he can regain his memory, it's possible that he'll lose his mind again and become a demon lord-level disaster. Psyche said that she must fulfill the task entrusted to her, or she can't breathe easy. Elixir said that he understood the situation, but what was the purpose of her agreeing to be Enigma's warden in the first place? Psyche thought and told Elixir to promise not to laugh. Elixir looked and said yes. Psyche said she wants to be a new generation hero. Witches live a long time. If she can gain enough experience before the 14th Demon Lord appears and earn the recognition of an old hag, then she can definitely become a hero. The Elixir said it was understood, and that's why she was so excited to become a student at the Hero Academy. Psyche said she was interested in the academy. But then Elixir laughed and Psyche got angry, telling him not to laugh. Elixir began to train and said that she was able to keep up even when using clairvoyance and recreate quickly too. But then the chains grabbed his legs and Elixir said that the number had increased so much. And then he broke the chains with his sword. Elixir said that the dawn of the shrine is excellent progress in such a short time. Adlay asked him if he was okay. Elixir shoved his blade through the portal and said he was fine. Adlay said the teacher shouldn't overexert himself like that. He'll still have the side effects of the demon eye. Elixir said they're like phantom limb pain. It was searing at first, but by now it subsided. He apologized to Adlay. If she needs him, he'll still use his eye. He has no ability or talent like her. But if there is something at hand that will be useful, he should use it. Adlay said that in that case, the teacher. Elixir said she's willing to risk her life and tell him not to fight. Elixir told her not to worry, if his plan worked, he wouldn't have to intervene. Adlay said that if the teacher doesn't have to fight, she will do her best. Elixir said that the ancient holy magic that he taught her, Dawn of Sanctuary, was different from the one Fugel used, both in complexity and magic consumption, and she must have the best binding power against curses. Adlay said, of course she would, because the teacher taught her personally. How does the teacher know about ancient holy magic? Elixir said that the Demon Lord's castle had many books about her that were thought to be lost. He may not have been a third-rate, but at least he had the knowledge. Adlay said he wasn't a third-rate. Elixir said no. That's who he is, that's why he decided to brainwash her first-rate. What's she gonna say? Did he succeed? Adlay said that the teacher was being mean again. Elixir said that besides Adlay, he had cast soundproofing magic and would tell her what he had learned from Enigma. Adlay said she thought she saw the Viper. Once, when she was a little girl. Her father had only brought him to the institution once, and even then he was wearing a mask. Elixir asked her if she had spoken to him. Adlay said he just stroked her head, that's all. I can't believe that man was one of the 8 heroes. The elixir said it uses Azura's demonic eye to dispel magic. Hasn't she heard anything like that? Adlay said she hadn't. Viper was tasked with controlling Enigma's curse with Azura's eye. But instead the role went to Fugel with his containment magic. And Psyche as a watcher. There may have been some circumstances that caused Viper to withdraw from the 8 heroes. He asked Adlay if he had gotten anything out of Psyche. Adlay said it doesn't look like she's hiding anything. Her gestures and facial expressions are barely different from a girl her age. She understands her more than ever, but they're just regular good friends. She has to ask her, but I'm sorry. Elixir said that everything was fine, he had the same impression of Psyche. Adlay said that the day the teacher brought her to the academy, he used an incubus eye on her, right? Elixir said yes, and he told her that he talked to the secretary about her, but he actually found out everything from her dream. There, what he saw was the usual recollection by her principal, and unremarkable memories. Nothing suspicious, she was just an innocent kid who admired heroes. Adlay said that Psyche doesn't know anything after all, right? Elixir said it's basically just a dream. Without interfering with the astral body, you can't see the memories you want. He told Adlay that he would like to teach her another magic just in case. Enigma has been sitting in the cave all this time and said that nothing has changed, even the sound of footsteps pisses him off. He said, "How long has it been?" He didn't think he'd ever come to him. Viper said they hadn't seen each other in a while and how the curse was doing, and called Enigma a puppy. Enigma told Viper to shut up and call him a nasty snake. And because he went somewhere else, that snot-nosed witch stole his memories. Viper asked him if he didn't like Psyche. If he wants to be his dog, let him say so. Viper swung and Enigma went straight to one knee. He said he was kidding, he's hard to control with Azura's eye. Enigma said he got half of his memories back, and he'll never forget how Viper, the bastard, used him. Viper said that he thought it would be better to leave him as a monster so that he could become an enemy to all mankind. He could actually thank you for the control he had when he was freaking out. Enigma asked why he was here. Viper said he's hunting a psycho to get his memory back, right? Even though he knows he'll turn into a monster. That's what he calls courage. Enigma said he won't become a monster. This time he'll completely overcome the curse. Viper started laughing and said that the Dark Knight loser has some kind of secret plan. Enigma told him to shut up, if he came to stop him, he'd cut his throat. Viper said that someone like him, he'd tame him with the eye of Azura, even if he became a monster. But right now, he's decided to cooperate with him. Enigma asked, why would he do that? Viper said his target was the man next to Psyche. To kill the man who killed Fugel. Enigma asked if Viper was talking about that demonic bastard. The coward who killed Fugel? Yeah, right. Viper said there's no hard evidence, but you can get it by killing that guy. If he's really guilty, he must have the crystal that seals the demon lord. Viper said that without his memories and in his current state, he's no match for Psyche. He'll take her on, and Enigma will finish off the demon-eyed man in return. He needs to prevent the demon lord from resurrecting him, and he needs to get his memories back. After killing him, they will exchange the crystal and the memory vial. Viper said he thought it was a good deal. Enigma said it's still weird. There must be another reason, tell me. Viper said there's one kid involved in this battle. If he attacks Psyche, but he might interfere and end up getting killed. Enigma asked if he cared about some people. Viper said he did. Her name is Adlay Litburn, she's Fugel's daughter and his half-sister. To protect her, his real goal. Psyche was talking to Elixir and they were discussing containment magic. Elixir said that she would be a decoy to lure Enigma to the right place, where deterrent magic would be prepared in advance to seal him. The principal is coming back tomorrow. If they can hold the seal until then, the operation will be successful. Psyche said that the plan is simple in words, but how to implement it? Only a Fugel-level holy knight could seal it. But then Adlay came in and said that she had the restraining magic. She had been trained by her teacher, albeit in a hurry. Elixir said that Adlay's potential as a holy knight surpasses her father's. He guarantees it. Psyche said, although the guarantee of a mere mortal is such an argument, she won't argue, he surely knows Adlin's level in holy magic. Adlin said that her father's death was told to her by her teacher. It was a task her father assigned to her. Let her cooperate with her, Psyche. Let her believe in her as a friend. Psyche said that she wouldn't want her to interfere if possible, but since she's the one who decided, then she's counting on her. Elixir said it's settled. Psyche, there's just one thing to settle first. His memories, he wants her to leave them to him. Psyche was surprised, and asked, is he serious now? Elixir said she's bait, if Enigma can catch her, she'll take the memories back, and that'll be the end of it. He told her to trust him. He will protect them. Psyche said this magic is more vulnerable than he thinks. The vial is sensitive to impact. If broken, the memories will return to Enigma. The farther away the owner is, the harder it is to maintain the magic. So she couldn't leave the prison tower of confinement. But for a short time she could pass it on to someone else. No more than 3 hours. Just let him mean he'll crash after the time's up. Elixir took the vial and said he understood. Psyche said if he cheated, she'd never forgive him. At night, an abandoned village in the west was destroyed long ago, and no one lived there at that time. Elixir arrives there and realizes that this plan is as simple as a nickel. First, he and Adlin make preparations in an abandoned village. Then Psyche comes out. She deliberately lets Enigma discover herself, and lures him to them. Here he is captivated by Adlin and the dawn of sanctuary spreading all around, and he's done for. After killing Enigma, Psyche will consider them traitors and will surely show hostility. Only, that's all true if they haven't betrayed them. Enigma came and killed the demonic bastard, Elixir. Enigma said it's amazing that he's waiting and not doing the legwork. Or is it another clone? Enigma looked into the guy's eyes and said that he was getting cocky. Did you expect him to target him instead of Psyche? Elixir said that he expected it. Elixir said that no matter how many clever plans he made, in the future, where he fights him, there was no escape. Enigma said he wasn't, judging by the look in his eyes, he wasn't going to avoid a fight with him. He asked Elixir, isn't he wondering why he's here and all? Elixir said no, it doesn't matter because his goal remains the same. Enigma said well said, and he wants to know his enemy. Enigma said to tell the guy his name first. Elixir said what's imprinted on his memory is impossible to forget. He remembered Viper calling Enigma a dog and telling him not to settle for leftovers when he had such a feast in front of him. There's meat here that can be eaten endlessly, does he realize? The Viper told him he should eat the root of all evil. Let him open up the wounds in his heart, remember the impulse to run not to escape. The vengeance he seeks is before him. His name is Archive. He is the last loyal servant of the 13th Demon Lord, the bloody Avenger and his undoing. Adlin used her seal and when she saw the fire on the battlefield, she realized that everything had begun. She remembered asking about another magic. And the teacher had said that he had no proof, but there would probably be several enemies. If Enigma, instead of Psyche, goes after them, then she will take him on. Adlin asked, will he fight him alone? Elixir said that they will only attack until they're ready. But even if the battle starts, their first priority is to create magic. However, if another enemy appears before her, let her interrupt the dawn of the shrine and deal with him first. It was for such an occasion that he had taught her this magic. She realized that at her current level, she could provide support during the preparation of the dawn of the shrine. Thanks to stealth magic, it's still undetected. And you can reach the target even from this distance. But at that moment, someone shouted her name from behind. She saw another enemy in front of her. It was just like the teacher said. She tried to attack him, but Viper raised his hands and said calmly. He's not her enemy, he just wants to talk. Adlin said she wouldn't talk and attacked Viper. He said he was sorry and attacked her instead. He started to take off his mask and said that in this case she should be punished a little and used his seal. Adlin saw his face and was surprised. At this moment, Elixir and Enigma were fighting to the death, and neither was going to give in to the other. Enigma said the guy has the eyes of a demon lord. So he's the bastard who killed Fugel. Elixir used his eye and saw that Enigma was shrouded in a curse, and the black flames couldn't reach him. And then it went the distance, Enigma said, a meager black flame. Looks like it was old age that Fugel lost. Enigma asked the guy what's wrong, and told him to keep his eyes on him. The Demon Lord's eyes are his trump card, you bastard. Elixir dodged his spear attack and used his demon eye. But Enigma was unaffected and they collided head-on. Enigma said Petrification doesn't work on him, because he's already devoured the demon eye wielder. He said jellyfish, vampires, cyclops, even dragon-like creatures that destroyed his home. Enigma threw his spear and Elixir saw it and parried it, and used translation magic. Enigma said to break the curse, dragon-like, and used his dragon claws. Enigma said that he could master any demon power except demon eyes, but then he saw that the flames from his attack had gone out. And he asked the guy, is he dead already? But then he noticed the shadow of a guy who was already very close to him, and he reacted in time to put his spear in the air. The Elixir said that the eyes generate black flames, and if you add the body enhancement to it, the power should be gathered in one place, and told the hero to prepare himself. The Elixir used the sublimation attack of the demonic eye, which is the eye of the foulness. But then Enigma was surprised and couldn't believe that the guy had such abilities. Elixir managed to deliver this attack and cut through Enigma's chest. Enigma said that you should not underestimate your opponent, with this level of petrification. Elixir said that it seems to last longer with eye contact. Enigma asked him, is that his trump card? The Elixir said that he wasn't sure if it would work, he didn't have a chance to test it. The Demon Lord's eyes burn life, but it was worth it. The Elixir made a powerful attack that Enigma even managed to resist and said that it was beautiful. Will his curse end first? He asked. Or will the guy burn faster? Enigma said we'd have to see who could hold out the longest. Elixir knew that Enigma's curse was healing his wounds, but the movements are slowed down by the eye of the fiend. Is it only this force that the power of his curse increases according to emotion? This guy's enjoying their battle. He's so sick of these heroes, Elixir said. Enigma told the guy not to despise him. After all, he and he have only one goal. Elixir asked what? Enigma said that bringing it all back would break the Demon Lord's seal. Elixir asked why he would do that. Enigma kicked and said that he was clearly going to be eaten. He swore to the one he ate to kill the Demon Lord. The seal will not bring retribution. Without devouring the Demon Lord, there will be no retribution. It is the longing of his curse. The future of humans, he knows nothing of the world. He will devour the Demon Lord and make this curse truly his own. Enigma said his curse is a spear, and let the guy dance in madness. And then his spears pierced Elixir. Enigma said to let the guy show him a glimpse of the curse that would be a disaster. Burn and decompose. The prison of the hungry wolf. But then he saw the girl's face, and she asked him why he did that to Enigmata, and why he ate her. Enigmata asked, what is it? But then his friend came up to him and asked, was the meat of the comrade and the beloved delicious? Let him answer him, dear friend. But then Enigma realized it was an illusion and shouted at Elixir to stop it. This is such a disgusting method. But then Elixir got close to him and used Demon Eye Sublimation Nightmare. Elixir pierced his chest with his sword, attacking from behind. Enigma said that he recognized the guy as an enemy, and he tainted the battle. Elixir said that he doesn't have a hobby of reveling in battles, and recognition from someone like him is just disgusting. The Elixir told him not to dream of dying in fun. He must sink into nightmare and die in agony.